Welcome, my friends and enemies. Glad you are here. I am joined by Omega Inquisitor Metastic. That's words. That is words. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Everything's in a rush, so I'm just peachy. But we have an update on one of our prior videos. I maybe 2 weeks ago. I don't even freaking remember anymore. But do you remember the Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, American Express debacle that's been going on? I
Yeah.
imagine yes, but. Well, more stuff's come out about that. And you may or may not have heard. I don't know. I didn't actually tell you, so we'll go into that now. But reported by Grums, which is the easiest way to get stuff nowadays, apparently. MasterCard clarified recent headlines on gaming content. MasterCard has not evaluated any game or required restrictions on any activity on game creator sites and platforms, contrary to media reports and allegations. Our payment network follows standards based on the rule of law. Put simply, we allow all lawful purchases on our network. At the same time, we require merchants to have appropriate controls to ensure MasterCard cards cannot be used for unlawful purchases, including illegal adult content. Now, this was is it though? That's the question. TLDR to my response, partially true, partially misdirection, repost on why. So interesting choice of words, and in a way, MasterCard is correct. But let me tell you how this really worked out, folks. Stick with me on this, and you will see they are misdirecting and not exactly truthful here. This is ASL Pro 3D. I don't know who that is. MasterCard is correct. They didn't talk to itch.io, which I just want to call itch.io, or Steam. They talked to the Internet Merchant Account, or IMA, that is usually owned by a bank, credit union, or financial institution who acts as the credit card processor, quote unquote.
Yep.
And it is the processor's job to provide an internet gateway from a website's online store to MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Discover, etc., and back. What likely happened here is collective shout contacted Visa and MasterCard, as we've been doing, as they were not getting the movement they wanted directly from the stores, Steam and itch.io. So they went directly to Visa and MasterCard, complained, and someone from those companies either provided information of who Steam and itch.io's internet merchant accounts were, or directly contacted the internet merchant account to tell them to enforce the product and service rules in regard to branding, protecting the Visa MasterCard brand, and the respective internet merchant accounts. I'm really sick and tired of saying that. The bank. For each website, then contacted Steam and itch.io, told them that they needed to clean up their book of products or to be turned off and be blacklisted and unable to get into the processor to continue to operate and continue to conduct online sales. I know this because I'm one of the creators and used to be one of the owners of Renderosity and Renderotica. I don't know what those are. And I had to do this BS stance on the whims of bank processors and credit card companies on a regular basis, even as far back as 1999 and 2000. So in part, MasterCard is being truthful here. They likely didn't contact Steam or itch.io directly. Instead, they likely just contacted the internet merchant account processors and told them to make this problem go away. So the internet merchant account processors did. They reminded Steam and itch.io about the product and service rules regarding branding, and if they didn't fall in line with those draconian rules, they'd have no choice but to turn off their access to processing online sales. That is what happened, all because of moralistic branding rules from banks and bankers to look like good guys while conducting, sometimes scuzzy, deals and forced upon internet merchant accounts to enforce online stores. Till those rules change, Visa, MasterCard, and other institutions that make up those corporations will continue to enforce their rules based on company policy rather than rule of law. And then use all these people, whoever they want.
And I have to interject here. Okay. So the way this works is I've dealt with this on and off with you in my own business issue. MasterCard and Visa are kind of like certifying organizations, or like they don't do anything directly themselves in terms of with you, the consumer. Okay. If you want another analogy, like the U.S. Federal Reserve, they interact with the banks and the banks interact with you.
Yeah.
Now,
they use a middleman.
No, not a middleman. That's the wrong way to think of it. Okay. Have you noticed, for those who are listening, you'll get credit card offers from 7 different people all claiming to be MasterCard. Well, those 7 different banks, what they do is they're members of MasterCard's network. And if you have used a MasterCard, let's say your Capital One MasterCard to buy tacos or something like that. And then that'll go to the bank from Capital One. Capital One will then certify, yes, the Capital MasterCard used to do this. Then it'll go into the MasterCard network, and MasterCard network will say, yes, it's an authorized MasterCard transaction, and the money would then be paid out to whoever gets paid out along the line, right? So, so let's say the company, let's say the Taco Bell you bought it from, who themselves are also a member of the MasterCard network, right? So
Okay.
what they do is they verify that the different MasterCard franchises have authorized transactions going to one another, okay? Within that context, however, they're all completely private entities. They have the right to refuse business, except in the case of protected classes like race, ethnicity, sex. The 1960s
So what you're
people,
saying is we all call him is like, are you gonna refuse a minority to do this stuff? And then just like,
so remember they mentioned lawful U.S. business. Did you see that in there? That
yeah,
or the one that said a rule of law, right? So under rule of law, you can private businesses can discriminate based on politics. Okay, now whether you want to change that or not, that's the discussion we had before about every time you give the government more power under law, you open gateways to hell. You know,
yeah.
um, like for example, giving the government the power to regulate that you can't ban you can't discriminate based on sex in business transactions. Open up this whole gender crap nonsense legally.
Well, yeah. I mean, if something's going to make your business fail or do bad, or you deem there's going to be a bad outcome, and you're not able to actually put a stop to it, it makes it very, very nasty in every
Well, like I
aspect.
said, it's civilizations has its benefits and its detriments.
Well,
Um,
mostly detriments, but yes.
so there's so with regards to what's going on with the gaming now, there are more than two what you would call payment certifiers out there, right? There's a whole bunch of small ones, for example. Um, that local does its own. Locals and Rumble are one company now. They do their own payment certification. Because they got cut off by Visa and Mastercard. Um, the
And
guy
I
who does
think I believe Elon Musk is trying to get his up too.
yeah, well, he has a small one. The guy who does Gab, uh, does his own edge or something or other. He has his own payment certifier. The pornographers have their own. Um, I'm trying to
Well,
remember all of them. And I heard, I usually get some of this news and direction from Jeremy via Jeremy of the Quartering. Uh, he does a bunch of 7-minute videos. And I listen to this. By the way, not to do an aside. If you're going to do a video, okay, I'm not specifically saying Jeremy only does this, okay. If the entire content of your video is over in the first 5 minutes, and you're just going to repeat the same shit or have a bitch fest for the end, just make a 5-minute video, right? You know, I mean, so I add enough to have a 10-minute video in, or do the best guy on the internet is at the 5-minute video.
Ryan Kendall.
Oh, you right out of bat, boom, right. Yeah.
I don't know how he does it, but he
Yeah.
definitely scripts stuff.
He
I'm
never, he
terrible at that.
never repeats himself.
Yeah.
He never repeat. He gets all his stuff out there, and yeah, maybe the video can be
He
mentioned.
makes like 13 videos a day, and I'm just you're like,
Yeah,
holy frick,
yeah.
dude.
He's literally the best at it, and
Yeah.
so the point is, so anyway, back to the point.
He's the glue that holds geeks and gamers
Yeah,
together.
yeah. Especially, not saying not. Well, I don't want to go. We'll get in sidetracked. I don't want to get sidetracked. So I've heard, be it Jeremy and be it someone else, that some of the gaming companies are looking to make an independent gaming processor that will that will give them a way to route around this attacking the
Yeah.
payment processor.
Well, we still have
Remember,
a couple more things that all talk about this topic, so that's not the end of the topic.
remember, like just to make the point here, unlike the Federal Reserve and the banks, which are part of public, the Federal Reserve is a publicly owned private institution. The Visa and Mastercard are entirely private, and so are almost every bank that gives you Visa and Mastercard. So they can discriminate based on certain things.
I thought you
Okay,
couldn't be private if you had stocks in your company.
no, you can be private. You did just there's a certain amount of public information you have to make available.
Hmm.
Basically, the reason they do that is so that everyone has a fair shot at competition. Not so much because you're private, but in other words, because okay, let's say you're a company, you have stock out there, right? Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't make a certain amount of information public, people behind the scenes, insiders, will have the advantage in trading all the time.
Ah, yeah, that makes sense. Well, context was added through community notes for this particular post.
Yeah.
Both Steam and Itch have stated their removal of adult content came from pressure by payment processors, including MasterCard, and there's a video for or a link for that. Furthermore, MasterCard and other payment processors have documented history of refusing service to Japanese retailers over legal adult content. So them saying, "Oh, we do allow everything except for unlawful purchases and illegal adult content type stuff, but we allow all lawful purchases on our network," which is false if you're refusing people service.
Okay, so no, a very qualified statement there. Okay, not all purchase of legal adult content is lawful.
Are you? Well, no. You're talking like getting it from a source that's not authorized to sell it, kind of thing.
No, for example, the content might be legal, but it might be unlawful for you to purchase it in a particular state or because of your age. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that particular story, especially the Japanese retailers, was in Japan by Japanese people in a legal status of their
Well,
stuff.
no, but remember, the
Like Japan's literally suing Mastercard for this crap.
that's true, but Japan, Mastercard and Visa are American companies. They have to obey
Sure.
U.S. law above all else. There are things that you can get in Japan that will be adult legal content, which will not be adult legal content in the U.S.
Sure, but if they're not authorizing the purchase of that content in the U.S., but they are in another country, they're still
Well,
abiding
so
by the laws of the
the
country here.
caveat here is that we have this big international business model that the world adopted in the 1990s, where instead of having one corporation in every country, like for example, a lot of companies still do this to protect themselves, like Elon does this, for example. But a lot of companies once they allow it was under Clinton. I don't remember the treaty. Basically, it became much easier to have one corporation operate in multiple countries. Okay, and so a lot of big companies stopped making separate corporations for each country, and that's what it just comes. It's like I said before. Every time you allow an enhanced legal thing to happen, you get good and bad with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
but
mean, the goal
isn't
was just
isn't the Mastercard in Japan though? Mastercard Japan, like it's not Mastercard US.
no. Mastercard's always going to be Mastercard. There may or may not be a
But
Mastercard
could
Japan.
they not make a subsidiary that is not
Well,
like they own it, but they don't actually operate it or anything? Like they don't
but
really have
then
anything to.
Mastercard Japan would not be able to certify. They would have to go to the parent Mastercard to certify. For example, okay, let's say you have a Mastercard, right? And you buy
I don't, thankfully.
Japanese. Well, I mean, it's always worth having one credit card laying around, even if it's a small one, just for an emergency purchase if you have no cash.
Yeah, but it
You
would
know?
be Visa. It wouldn't be Mastercard.
Well, whatever.
Visa's more common.
Whatever. Point is, it's anyway. So let's say you wanted to purchase, some product that was fully legal in the U.S. and Japan, was of an adult nature. Let's say, hentai girls of July or whatever we want
The
to.
calendar girls.
Yeah, a hentai calendar for July. Um. So anyway, you want to purchase that with your Mastercard, right? So you click on, you go to the Japanese website, you click on enter your information, right? So first the first thing that happens is your information, your request to purchase goes to, let's say you have a Mastercard with Bank of America, right? So let's go to Bank of America and say, pay this company in Japan through Mastercard $17.18 or whatever. You know, then that's going to go. Two things happen. The company in Japan is going to get a signal from Bank of America saying possible transaction set up on your end. Then this is all computerized. Then Mastercard's going to get a twing saying that a Mastercard person needs authorization by the questioners. Uh,
Defaming my name.
yeah, to question the only person for review purpose, can't really person is content or anything else. Yeah. So and by this company in Japan via Mastercard. So Mastercard's immediately going to start trying to authorize the transaction, right? So in Japan, Mastercard, let's say there's Mastercard Japan, right? Let's say there is a Mastercard Japan. Mastercard Japan is going to get a communication from Bank of America and from Mastercard US saying that the transaction is authorized, and then you know The anime hentai shop 04 is going to say we have a transaction we want to complete to sell hentai girls of July to the questionnaires, right? So the transaction to be authorized is going to have to go to the local bank for that product, to MasterCard Japan, to MasterCard, who's still got to be involved because they're the parent company, and then to MasterCard to Bank of America MasterCard. And so it's going to go through that chain and say, is this an authorized transaction? Is it secure? Is it safe? Blah, blah, blah. And then once that's done, then the banks are going to engage in a bank level transaction saying, because the payment doesn't necessarily go through MasterCard to get a cut. It's just they validate the transaction, right? Then the banks will engage in a direct money transfer to make your payment. And that's the mechanical process that occurs, right? So you still have to comply with U.S. law because the parent company, MasterCard, in other words, MasterCard Japan can't authenticate your MasterCard. You know what I mean? It has to go through MasterCard U.S., which is the parent company.
Because you're in the U.S.
Yes. Now, let's say you're in let's say Sage, let's say it's Denmark, right?
Netherlands.
Netherlands. Let's say Sage has a Bank of the Netherlands MasterCard, and he's going to buy hentai girls of July in Japan. Okay.
And August.
So, but they still have to go through MasterCard US because that's the company that owns MasterCard Japan and MasterCard Netherlands. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So even though the US law is not involved in the transaction between Sage and the bank,
doesn't that jack with sovereignty of countries though? Because it's an economy thing from a particular country. If that was the case, how are they even doing any business in the Middle East? Because the Middle East is just filled with nonsense.
It's an entirely private thing.
But it's not private if the U.S. law is encompassing it. Because it's affecting like
it's a U.S. company. You understand?
I totally understand the U.S. company thing. That's not my thing. My thing is that if the U.S. company is taking its notes and its rules of law from the U.S., then
which it must do above all else.
Huh?
Which it must do above all else.
Okay. So let's say they do that, and the U.S. is like, okay, you can't do X, Y, or Z. So then they go to another country, and it's part of their economy, which is like, I mean, pissing in someone else's economy is a very not so nice thing to do between countries and stuff. And if you're saying, okay, I want to do this, and it's legal in that country, and it may be illegal or not clear or whatever on the U.S. side, but the company, like the transaction itself and everything, is all between a business, assuming private or company.
Okay, I will help you understand this a little better. Okay, let's say we at the questioners want to kill someone or want to terminate someone's life in, I don't know, Indonesia.
Well, that would be illegal everywhere, I'd imagine. But...
Well, no, but let me get bear with me. Let's say it is legal to do it in Indonesia because it's an honor killing, right?
Okay.
If we hire a hitman in Indonesia to do it, are we still guilty of murder in the U.S.? The answer is yes.
Would it be if we're not in the U.S. at the time?
Doesn't matter. We could be on the moon. As a U.S. citizen, we're legal required to obey U.S. law.
Even if we're doing something that's completely legal in another, like, okay, for example, let's say in the United States it's illegal to ride your bicycle on a sidewalk, but I go to Indonesia and I'm riding my bike on the sidewalk. Am I now a criminal?
Well, is it illegal to, okay, when you say it's illegal to ride your bike on the sidewalk, does the law say it's illegal to ride your bike on the sidewalk in the U.S. or just illegal to ride your sidewalk anywhere?
Well, I mean, our law can't say it's illegal to do anything anywhere because...
Yes, it can.
It can't... A country's law cannot reach beyond its own borders because by definition, it can't... What?
The U.S. Did you ever do legal research on sovereignty?
On what?
In the U.S. Constitution, the United States Constitution has absolute sovereignty over the United States and all its citizens.
I know, but I'm saying, like, for example, the U.S. can't say it's illegal to go to Japan and do this thing. Like, you can't go there to a karaoke bar.
Yes, they can.
How? It's a totally different area. They don't have jurisdiction over. If you
As
go over
soon
there
as you
and you
get
did
home,
it,
you get
what
arrested.
do? Fly back in your plane and customs arrest you because you were seen in a karaoke bar.
Yes.
Like,
People get arrested all the time for stuff they do overseas. They think doing drugs because they did drugs in like the Netherlands or whatever.
well, I know, but it doesn't make sense that the U.S. can have the rule of law over another country's sovereignty and what they have to do.
The rule was over you.
But
As a U.S. citizen, you're obligated to obey U.S. law no matter where you are.
well, that's what I'm saying. Is if I'm okay, for example, well, if that's the case, then concealed carry permits are valid everywhere. And then if anybody has a problem with it, they have to fight the U.S. government.
Okay.
Like that doesn't make any sense.
That's actually true. It's just not enforced.
Well, then make them freaking enforce it because this is stupid. Like it's them pushing. It's pushing like I have control over you in every sense of the word, in every sense imaginable, in every possible way, except when I need to look out for you. And we're gonna be like, oh no, like we don't want to start an international conflict by saying you're allowed to conceal carry guns in other people's countries because the other country would have a problem with that.
There's a lot of law like that where the U.S. has worldwide.
Then it's not equal.
Again, it's a question of do you start a war over it?
Well, if you pass a law saying no matter where you go, you're not allowed to go to a karaoke bar, but every other country in the world has a karaoke bar, and you leave your country to another country and you just go to a karaoke bar and saying, oh, no, you're going to be a criminal if you come, or like you are a criminal because you did the act, but like if you come back, you will be arrested. And we're going to start an international incident because of this.
It's not an international incident.
Well, what if another country says if you come to our karaoke bars, it's illegal for any country to claim you as a criminal if you come here? There's going to be some pounding of heads of Japan fighting freaking America. And they say, oh, well, it's not really worth fighting this.
There's no pounding of heads because we are the king of the world.
Which I don't necessarily like, but...
Well, you do like it because if we didn't rule the world, there'd be wars all the fucking time.
Yeah?
Do you know how just miserable the world would be?
You know how miserable the world is if you can't do anything just because a country decides that they're going to arbitrarily enforce a rule that they wouldn't enforce another one?
What you're describing is a first world problem, meaning in the U.S. and a couple other Western nations, mostly the U.S.,
in the quote-unquote most freest nation in the world, with the biggest prisoners in the world.
We benefit from this relationship, right? Because for the most part, our nation allows us to do the most of it.
Yeah, we have the most freedom in terms of what the government covers over us, but we don't have actual freedom in that regard.
For example, you can look this up. There was a story a couple years ago of a Muslim woman who came to the U.S. and was seen on camera without a man accompanying her, and when she went back to Saudi Arabia, she was put in prison.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me because they're control freaks and they would do that.
That's anyway. Not the issue. The issue is, like the U.S. for the most part, when a U.S. citizen violates the law in another country, violates the U.S. law in another country, as long as it's relatively minor, they ignore it. Okay.
Sure. Well, I'm saying, but if it's illegal for a Muslim woman to go about without having a male escort in like Saudi Arabia, and they come here and they do that thing, the U.S. isn't going to enforce that rule because it's not their rule. But if she goes back, they're going to enforce it because that is their rule.
The point I'm saying is the U.S. has the luxury of being able to be the best place in the world to live by this.
Well, yeah, but it's like saying I can pick my best prison. I'm more free in this prison than I am over in that prison, and therefore it's great. It's just not that
great. About this is not reflecting the reality that the rest of the world lives under those.
No. I'm aware that other countries do that, but I also understand that other countries and cultures and civilizations, to be fair, have their own caveats. Like there's certain things you can do in Japan, there's certain things you can do in Norway, there's certain things you can do in Australia, not very many, but a couple.
All those nations are inferior to the United States.
Sure. But again, it's in what? Some things, like let's say it's like, okay, in America, it's illegal to eat a peanut butter jelly sandwich on a Sunday at high noon at, water level.
I don't mean inferior morally. I mean inferior legally.
That may be the case. But my point is that if a country says it's okay to do something here, and you go to that country, and the other country you came from says it's not okay to do this thing, well, that should, by definition, be legal within the boundaries of that area. So, for example, if a country says it's illegal to consume cocaine in American territories, or even if they just said period, they can't go beyond their borders without imposing themselves on the rule of law of anybody else. Because, for example, if somebody who's not an American citizen comes here and consumes copious amounts of cocaine in America, well, they're not under the rule of law because they're not a citizen by that argument. Now, you could argue that any visitors also have to abide by that law, but if their country allows it, is that not going to start a conflict because the other country's like, no, you can't do that to our person because our person has the ability to do that here, and they're our person. Like, you could kick them out, but you can't, like, throw them in prison.
Prosecuted for things they do here.
I'm not saying that they don't happen. I'm saying it shouldn't happen if you're claiming that they have some form of a sovereignty as a nation. Like, if any country has its own sovereignty and you're imposing your will upon somebody else, it's literally the opposite of aggression. That's literally being aggressive towards somebody else.
I'm telling you the way the law works. The U.S. Constitution establishes that the U.S. sovereignty is superior to all other sovereignty.
That could be taken many ways. But even if that was the case, if somebody else writes their law the exact same way, now you have a conflict.
Well, no, because no one would dare conflict with us.
But why not?
I don't know. Trump could when Canada has a 300% tariff on eggs, and Trump didn't like it.
I mean, why does the rest of the world not just come together and say, you know what, we just want to cut all ties with the United States, and the United States is just
want our money.
Well, yes, but if the rest of the world is on one side of the playground and you're on the other side of the playground, they can interact. I'm not saying they are now. I'm just saying if they decided to, they could be like, we're going to rehaul everything, and then the United States is sitting there playing in its own piss because it doesn't have an economy.
They keep trying to. Do you understand that?
And then we keep going over invading everybody.
We don't have to invade. See, that's the thing. We don't have to invade anyone to do this because our American financial institutions are for example, the U.S. dollar and the U.S. Treasury bond are the backing of almost every currency on the earth. Okay,
which doesn't make any logical sense, but yeah.
Okay. That's because the U.S. is secure.
Is it though? I mean, if it's the most secure, that's pretty sad. But yeah, I mean,
it's not pretty sad. It is. There's no one who can test our military, and there's no one.
Well, I agree with that. I'm not saying that like our military is going to be undermined by anybody.
And there's no one, unless we're stupid, which we weren't.
I mean, we are pretty prone to be. We're Americans.
Look how much damage from Bush Senior, Clinton, Bush Jr., Obama, and Biden. How much damage they did to the U.S. economy, and we're still the strongest economy on the earth.
Yeah, that means that's how strong we were. But also, that strength came from a lot of trade. And if that trade goes away and we don't get those imports, we're toast.
It did not come from a lot of trade. That's a myth. It's a total myth. Okay?
No. There's a reason most things are not made in the United States
The reason is because Bill Clinton, the Bushes and Bill Clinton were backers of basically. There's two approaches to this. Okay, and I'll keep it brief because we don't get sidetracked. Right? Either you import slave labor, like illegal immigrants or robots to make your cheap products, or you buy them from countries like China to have slave labor. Okay.
Yeah, well, it's because whoever has the cheapest labor will get the most work.
So
yes,
the Bushes and the Clintons said, let's not import the cheap labor here. Let's take advantage of Chinese slave labor, Indonesian slave labor. Okay.
Yeah, but isn't by definition slavery being outlawed mean that if you're working with anybody who is utilizing slave labor, make you a criminal?
Well,
because that's literally what you were saying about, like, if you go to another country and you're doing other things there that we outlaw here, and they're like, well, we can do it over there because we're not actually doing the slavery. We're hiring the people who are doing the slavery, and then we're not the ones doing slavery. We're just outsourcing slavery.
That is why President Trump wants to not only stop illegal immigration so we don't have slave labor here, but
Sure.
put these tariffs on.
Well, slave labor
So-
here is not as much of an issue as it is literally in
Oh
China.
no, it's,
No. I mean, I get that I get that it happens here, but I'm saying the volume of it is not nearly as large as what's going on in China. That's why China outputs everything in the world. Maybe China's
communism by definition is slave labor.
sure, but that's not my point. My point is like even if like let's say we have a minimum wage of $7.50 or whatever it is right now, or I don't think there should be one, but that's a different story. But you go over there and you're like, here's $2 for the whole week to like work on stuff. It's like
it's not a minimum wage. It's about the fact that they don't have a choice to work.
well, that's what I'm saying. Is like they're being forced to work there for a pittance, and we're supposed to act high and mighty as an economy when our economy is heavily based upon theirs.
I would agree with you. That's why I voted MAGA.
But that's not my point. My point is that whether you vote for MAGA or not, if the law states you cannot operate through slavery, but then you as a business travel over while still being U.S. business, travels over to China and then says, China, you have a slave business, which means you can keep things cheap and I can benefit from these cheap things. I want you to enforce slavery that I don't enforce. And then
under U.S. law, communism is not recognized as slavery. It should be.
well, in that case, why is any slavery acknowledged as slavery? Because it's
Because
just
under
not.
law, they specifically say ownership of human beings is slavery.
Well, yes, but if I pay them, I'm not owning them.
Nope. If you own them and pay them, it doesn't matter. For example,
So if
there
the people
were-
in China just decided not to show up to work, then nothing would happen.
well, the military would come and take them to work.
That's literally the definition of owning. If you have no say until you're like forced at gunpoint to put it, that's exactly what a slave would be doing.
But okay, they can refuse to work and just die.
Oh, it's not slavery. You have the choice to die. What? There's no difference.
It is.
There's literally no difference.
There's a legal and contextual difference. You're going down
Slavery is slavery, whether the legal definition acquires it as so.
the law only. Again, you're talking morals, not laws.
No.
Okay.
I'm saying consistency. If they make illegal, it's like
You're
we're gonna
talking
make
moral-
slavery illegal, except if you use force to keep them there.
Correct. The law has to be defined very specifically to the way it is. That's just the way the law
So
is.
if I'm not gonna say me, some other third person, way out, I don't know who they are or anything to do with them or whatever. They decide they're going to grab a whole bunch of people, rip them out of their houses, use force and guns, and force them to work for them against their will. That's not slavery. That's a political persuasion.
In the U.S., that would be slavery.
No, it wouldn't, because that's exactly what communism is doing in China.
Well, no, what the
You don't have a choice. You go to work, or I will
They'll
use
say, well,
force against you.
If you choose to work at the slave clothing maker, you just don't get money for food.
And you die.
Well, that's your fault for refusing to work the one job we allowed you to work.
So if not me, if some other person, Joe Schmo over here, does the exact same thing in America, it's legal.
They go to jail.
No. That's not consistent. You can't say it's okay because they do it, but it's not okay we do it.
Again,
But
you're
we're allowed to
arguing
operate with
moral-
one.
You're arguing moral consistency.
No.
arguing
I'm operating
legal
with
consistency.
any consistency. There is
Yeah, you
no
need to-
consistency.
You need to stop. You need to understand the difference between what's moral and what's legal.
I'm not even saying it's illegal or it is legal.
Law.
That is not. No. I'm saying the United States is declaring it's not illegal there, but if you were to do it here, it would be illegal.
No.
That
The US
doesn't
is
make
saying-
sense.
The U.S. is saying that we don't care what happens in China legally unless it involves the U.S. or U.S. citizen.
That's what I'm saying, is that U.S. citizens, businesses, are going there and contracting slavery labor to make
Well,
it cheap
you're
and
not
then
listening
coming
to
back
me.
here and selling the
You're
products.
arguing from a moral point of view, not a legal point of view.
No. I'm saying that if something is legal here and you're not allowed to go do it anywhere else, according to the wide net that's cast by the law,
Yeah.
and because you're a citizen, if I can't go to a karaoke bar because it's illegal in America to go any karaoke bar anywhere, and I go to China to go to a karaoke bar, I get arrested. Slavery is illegal here. I go to a slavery depot or whatever to the businesses over there that enforce slavery.
Stop right there. You're right on the point. Okay. Slavery, the slavery there is not defined as slavery here.
That's what I'm saying, is if I did the exact slavery function they do there, here, you said I would go to prison, or if somebody, Joe Schmo, did.
Again,
that's what I'm saying. That's not consistent.
It's illegal here. It's illegal for you to do.
Because I'm a citizen.
It is not illegal for you to purchase the products from Chinese companies that do that.
Is it okay for me to pay or to create a business where, like, let's say, for example,
it's a moral question.
If karaoke bars are illegal to visit in the United States for U.S. citizens, is it okay for me to build a business off of people visiting karaoke bars that are illegal to visit?
Morally, no.
I'm not talking about morally. I'm talking legally. I have
not
brought up the moral argument the entire time. You have brought up the moral argument. I have not brought it up at all.
You said, is it okay? It's a moral question.
No. I'm saying, is it okay legally to do said thing?
Okay, just say, is it legal?
My entire argument has been nothing but legality so far. I'm saying it's not consistent with the law. If it says the law says it's illegal to murder people, person A murders somebody, they go to jail. Person B murders somebody, they don't go to jail. That's called not consistent legally. Murder has been done in both counts on the same degree, in the same way, but they were not doled out the exact same way. That's what I'm saying. So if it's illegal, not immoral. I'm not talking about immorality. If it's immoral, you got me saying immoral now. If it's illegal to deal in slavery
in the U.S.,
that applies to businesses of the U.S., that applies to people that are citizens of the U.S., correct?
Sort of.
No, there's no sort of, because if the sort of is, then you go somewhere else, you can go to a karaoke freaking bar.
I see them doing that. It doesn't apply to them purchasing the results of other people doing that.
So if, let's say, for example, China went full slavery, like legit slavery, like Uyghur Muslims or something. Let's say they enforce
the Uyghur.
Huh?
The Uyghur Muslims are in fact enslaved.
Well, I know, but I'm saying, let's say they used them to make products. And a company that Joe Schmo establishes goes over and says, hey, we want to use the products your Uyghur Muslims are making, or we want you to produce stuff using the Uyghur Muslims that are enslaved completely. They have freedom of choice. They can't even die legally. Like they can't do anything. They're completely 100% every determined of the word slaves.
That's a real situation. That actually happens.
Sure, but I'm saying, if that guy goes to them as an American citizen, an American business goes to that country that does that and has full-fledged, just outright slavery and hires them, is that not him dealing in slavery? That's illegal here, but he's not getting arrested?
You're not listening, okay? I said Bush Sr., Clinton, and Bush Jr. set off a treaty. I forgot which one it was.
Sure, I'm not talking about the treaty.
Yeah, you need to, because this is what changed it. Okay, it would have been illegal. Well, there was two sets. There was some action in the 1970s regarding China, and then in the 1990s and early 2000s, the treaties and acts were in relate to the world, not just China. Okay, that said that we're basically kind of ignore your internal practices when it comes to how you generate the stuff we're going to buy.
They're just going to ignore it, kind of a thing.
What you're describing, the inconsistency of purchasing the slave labor product.
Well, you're not purchasing just the product. You're purchasing the use of slaves to make your products. You're going to them and saying, I want you to use these particular absolute 110% slaves to make my products so I can have them dirt cheap, and I will pay you for that.
They started doing that with China in the 70s because they wanted to use China against the Soviet Union. And then
they joined sides. That's weird.
And well, no, China China and Russia still hate each other, but that's a separate.
Well, they hate each other like civilization-wise because of
No,
superiority issues, but I'm talking like they
There's
agree in
no-
principle.
there's visceral hatred between ethnic Chinese and the Russians. On the
Well, yeah.
Russian-Chinese Civil War, that every year there's thousands of they just like farmers go across the border and kill each other. How much they hate each other. Okay, but that's aside from
Yeah.
So in the 70s, they passed that law that gave China preferential treatment. They ignored things like Chinese slave labor and all that, right? And in the 1990s and 2000s, I think that one of the GATT treaties, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trades, around 7 or whatever, and another set of laws that will pass, said, we in the U.S. will buy your product and largely we'll ignore how you generate internally. And
Like
they
how you came to that, basically. If you're using slave labor, we'll ignore that.
they
Yeah.
did it under environment. Remember the whole thing with wanting to, of course, we were the big bad evil like environmental destroyers, and we want to. If we just
We're not. We just take products from those people.
if we just help those other countries by giving them wealth, we can help them skip the evil environmental phase, and they hit it under that, right? But basically, for the most part, the U.S. economy since those three presidents, started ignoring the morally duplicitous work product of these other countries. Okay, and now under MAGA, for example, we don't want to ignore that. So you
Well,
argue
some people in MAGA don't want to ignore that. You can't exactly say every single one wants to.
the majority of the MAGA movement wants to not only put these get these tariffs on to keep the trade equal, but get manufacturing, which is the source of most of the slave labor, get them back in the U.S. Okay, Trump definitely wants that because our economy is, from a military point of view, very weak. You should, if it's an interesting topic to read up on, if you're curious. If the listener is curious, then you can do some research on how weak we are due to our manufacturing being
Everywhere
China,
else, yes, yeah.
On a lot of products,
Which I agree. I think manufacturing should come back to the States, and we should rebalance our own economy so that even if the whole world turned against us, we'd be still economically strong. That's my particular viewpoint.
The reasons it's not just our economy.
I'm not saying cut off ties with everybody. I'm just saying like we should be able to produce here what they can produce there.
Yeah, the reasons our economy is not just our economy. People know why the U.S. Navy is so big, because the U.S. Navy is pretty much the premier and only worldwide anti-piracy force.
Yeah.
Like for example, in
Which
the
is
Middle
sad,
East,
but yeah,
it's not sad. We're the only country in a position. Well,
I'm saying it's sad because none of the other countries are protecting their own borders from pirates.
Well, it's not that they protect their own borders. A lot of them do, but there's international waters. We protect international waters.
Which I don't know if we should be able to do, but that's a different story. But anyway,
We do because U.S. sovereignty says we can do it.
That's just like, I'm better than you. Okay, why do you think that? Because I am better than you. And okay, why do you believe that? Because I'm better than you. It's just like, that's not an answer.
That's just a different question. Okay, we'll shift away from politics and go to religion briefly.
Oh no.
Okay. Remember in the Bible when God said to Abraham to kill his son?
Not quite like that, but yeah.
Keeping it simple, right?
Keep it simple.
If God tells
totally
you to do
out of context, but yes.
If God tells you to do it, is it murder? The answer is no.
If we skip all the context, yeah, that'd be correct.
The reason the answer is no is because God made the whole damn universe and he can do what the hell he wants with it.
Sure, but he also wouldn't give you a command to murder anyone.
That is correct. But
so
what I'm saying is
he cannot give you a command to murder somebody.
Can God blow up the planet Mars?
What?
Can God blow up the planet Mars?
Sure.
Because he made the whole thing.
I mean, yes, but at the same time, he'd have to have supernatural power to prevent Mars repercussions from destroying our planet.
He does, yeah. He's omnipotent. He has all the power to do it.
Well, yes, but he's also logically constrained by his own power. Like, all powerful doesn't mean he can just do literally anything. It means he has to do anything that's logically possible.
He's logically constrained by his own state, not his own power.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like he can't make a rock so big that he can't pick it up, kind of a thing. He's too.
Yes, he can.
No, he can't. You cannot be all powerful, where it means you're the top of the power scale, and then create something that's more powerful than you. That doesn't work.
Listen to the argument. Okay, he's omnipotent. God can say, I'm going to make a rock I cannot lift, and he redefines himself to not be able to lift the rock, then in the very next
He literally cannot redefine himself and be omnipotent. Omnipotence a part of his body, not.
Look what omnipotence means. You're trying to constrain something that is infinite with rules of the finite.
One having unlimited power or authority. So if God, here's the thing, God doesn't have unlimited power or authority. God is unlimited power and authority.
Then he has it.
No. Has is something you can lose. You have it, now you don't have it. But being it is not something you can have. You are it. It's like saying, I'm always right, means I can never be wrong. So I can't just remove my ability to be right to become wrong.
See, let's say there's a 1 pound rock in front of you, right?
There's probably
and you reach down to pick it up, but choose not to use all of your strength.
Would that rock become more powerful than me by then?
Well, okay, let's say that rock is if you don't move that rock, someone's going to shoot you in the head.
I don't think you can shoot the most powerful being in the universe.
Well, we're not talking about we're talking about you.
Well, I know, but nobody else could be omnipotent. That's why it's kind of a weird question.
How do we know that?
We don't know. How do you know what?
We don't know anything about the nature of God other than the moral rules he's given us and the laws of physics that he created. That's all we know.
Omnipotent can't be lost, or omnipotent as an attribute cannot be lost. Because, oh, shoot, hold on a second.
This pause is brought to you by our sponsor, which we have none. On the off chance he's still recording and not recording, of course.
Apologies, we had a bit of a water spill. So, what was I saying? Omnipotence. Okay, so I'm out of breath. To be omnipotent is to be a state in which you cannot lose whatever the, what do you call it? The state of being powerful. So, like, if God's omnipotent, God cannot lose his omnipotence.
But that's your opinion, not God's.
That's not an opinion. That's how an attribute works.
But that's you're defining omnipotence that way.
No, omnipotence is defined. I just said the definition. The definition of omnipotent: one having unlimited power and authority.
Correct.
That's omnipotence. But God doesn't have outside things because nothing would exist. Assuming if God is the ultimate perfect being of every possible way you could look at it, philosophically, religiously, or whatever, if he's everything perfect, nothing can be external to himself in that attribute.
You don't know any of that. You can't even assume any of it.
It's literally how philosophy works, my brother. It's like, okay, you can choose to stop being human. It's like, well, you literally can't. You have no choice. You are human. It's an attribute.
Is Jesus human right now?
I mean, he has a human body, according to the theology. Yes, he does. When he ascends, he had a human body.
He ascended as a human.
Yes. And there's nothing saying that he changed back.
He transubstantiated.
That's not what transubstantiation is.
His body became okay. Let's skip.
Needless to say, that wouldn't be how that works, attribute-wise, from a philosophical and theological standpoint.
Only thing we know about the nature of God are the stuff we got in the Bible and the laws of physics. That's all we know.
If God says this is my attribute, then it's his attribute, and we know it's his attribute because he tells us his attribute, he acts on his attribute, and he is consistent. If that's the case, it's an attribute, not an extension. You're treating it like an extension. An extension is something that doesn't exist, and therefore he gives it to himself because he has to create it.
You're overthinking this with some sort of weird.
Well, for one thing, I'm very good at overthinking things, but also it's philosophy, and I really like philosophy. So,
again, just because you think does not mean you think correctly.
I agree, but I'm saying is that this isn't just me as a single person on the planet coming to this conclusion. This has been a conclusion came to for a long time.
Wrong.
What?
And they'd be wrong.
That's just your opinion.
Your opinion.
What?
If you okay, if you could go back to you and the rock, okay?
Okay.
Let's say there's a rock that you have in your hand and you put it down on the ground, okay? And then you go down to lift it up, but decide not to use 99% of your strength. Are you capable of lifting the rock up?
You are literally capable of it. Yes, you are choosing not to use it. Yes.
You're not, because if you're not using that 99% of your strength.
No. The 99% of strength is still there. You're just not utilizing it.
And under the laws of physics, right? The laws of physics, energy is the ability to cause change. If you don't exert the energy, you can't do it.
That's not what you asked, though. You said, is he able to do it? And from the perspective of let's say I could lift 500 tons. If I can lift 500 tons and I choose to actively not pick up a 1 pound rock,
then you can't lift up a 1 pound rock.
No, it's not. You can't. It's you're refusing to do so. That's a totally different thing.
And in terms of
if a pound, it's logically inconsistent to say I could lift 500 tons and then say I cannot pick up 1 pound. That's logically inconsistent.
Not logical, but you don't exert the energy to do something, it can't occur.
But you have the energy. You're just choosing not to use it. Okay. That's the difference.
I have all the energy stored in my hand to blow up the city of Chicago.
In Minecraft.
No, in reality, if I were to take the matter in my hand and turn to raw energy in real Chicago, it would blow up.
I have no idea how you do that, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, matter antimatter conversion. There are physical processes by which that could occur. Okay. Now, I personally can't do them right now, but I know of them. Okay.
But I'm saying is that to say, because in philosophy, words and definitions are like literally king. So if you don't get the context, you can't make the thing. So I was not trying not to make that rhyme, and it did anyway. My apologies. If omnipotence is one having unlimited power or authority, not MasterCard and not Visa or subsidiaries,
within the rules of the laws of physics.
Well, the laws of physics would exist when the universe is created, and the creator would technically be able to work outside of those when he's immaterial.
The laws of physics must exist before the universe came to existence.
Maybe. I don't know enough. I don't know enough about that particular detail because
I do.
That's a theory of lots of theories, and I don't want to mess with that because there's too much not known, and you can't know what happened before the universe from a materialistic perspective. So I don't know how that would work. But well, again, it's not. That's not even important because that doesn't matter. But even if it did, let's just say that God instills the laws of physics upon himself, but he also is not limited by them. Per se.
Well, I don't know that the laws of physics are limited.
Well, are the laws of physics materialistic or are they metaphysic?
Well, let me put it this way.
Because God's both metaphysical and physical.
The fact that our universe exists the way it does is suggested that someone took the laws of physics, right, and
Mm-hmm.
fine tune this particular universe to make it the
Sure,
way.
but that's what I'm saying is though if the laws of physics are constrained by physical nature, like being
No, no,
purely
no, no,
physical,
no, they're
then it
not.
what? Okay, so the
Physical nature is a manifestation of a set of
do
rules.
the laws of nature, the physics and all that stuff, quantum mechanics, all that stuff, does that extend to the supernatural?
I don't think the supernatural exists
It
in that way.
doesn't matter whether you think it
In the
exists.
way,
That's not the
you know,
thing.
in the way you're defining the word, I don't think. I
If
don't think.
if there's an immaterial, non-natural anything, do the laws of physics apply to them?
I don't think there's an immaterial amount anything.
I didn't ask if that was what you said. I said if the immaterial anything, whatever it could be, a spirit orb of just spiritual power and a key, whatever the case might be. I don't know. Like if there's spiritual, literally anything
Yeah.
where it's not natural, it's not material, it's not anything. There's no
Well,
energy or whatever. It's literally
I,
another dimension. Do the laws of nature apply to that?
assuming I'm interpreting your wording correctly, I will not use the wording you are to refer to that. But within that context, the laws of physics apply to anything.
Including things that because the laws of physics are all physical things, correct?
No, the laws of physics dictate how the universe works.
I know, but I'm saying everything, the universe itself is physical. It is not non-physical, correct?
Well, that's the whole debate over do virtual things like thought, like the content of flux exist.
I know. What I'm saying is, it's like every aspect, planets, even the freaking void of space between planets and atmospheres, all that stuff
Well, okay,
counts
I,
as a natural
I will simplify
physical
it.
entity.
Let me simplify. If I'm thinking of the number four, right? When I think of that number four, is the entirety of that existence the neurons in my brain firing off, or is there an idea that also exists in some form of consciousness?
I mean, I personally don't believe the mind and the brain are identical, but that's a different story for a different
Well, the
time.
answer to that is that four is the four exists in your consciousness.
Yes, but I don't necessarily believe that your consciousness is limited to materialness.
I agree there. I agree your consciousness is not limited to material. Therefore, there's an immaterial, that number four is an immaterial, spiritual, whatever thing.
I wouldn't necessarily call it
But
inherently
it's still
spiritual, but
subject to the laws of physics because the entirety of the universe is subject to the laws of physics.
including your imagination.
Yeah.
Well, no, because your imagination can go do things that physics can't.
Well, imagination still requires energy to run.
Only if it's the brain, not if it's not the brain.
Well, why would you think that your immaterial consciousness it's outside the laws of physics? What has God ever suggested to you that's outside the laws of physics?
Well, I don't think God suggests that to anyone, but that's a different story.
That's all we know. This is all we know about what God, the nature of God is the Bible and the laws of physics. That's all we know.
I mean, the laws of physics don't tell us that much about God
No,
indirectly.
they tell us
No.
he's genius.
God never once said the laws of physics apply to me. We presume that it does, but it never
No,
once says they do.
the laws of physics tell us God he's a genius.
Well, sure, but anybody can do that. You don't have to be the laws of physics to say that.
Well,
What I'm saying is that an immaterial being, aka a god-like character, anything that's material would have to have something make it material.
we don't exactly know that God's immaterial. Okay,
Well, we do, because he's spirit, or
we know that,
he
we know
has
that,
like the Holy Spirit is a spirit, so there is
well,
spirit, and spirit is not material.
what we know is in the context of manifesting inside this universe, he's obviously
Can
spiritual.
do the laws of physics apply to omnipresence?
The laws of physics apply to this universe.
I know, but if somebody is omnipresent, are they abiding to the laws of physics?
Um, well, if are there any other beings besides God, the Creator, who is omnipresent,
Only God is omnipresent, as far as I'm aware.
then the laws of physics apply in such that God intends them to.
Okay, but the laws of physics have to apply as the laws of physics are applied, not as just like you can't tweak them randomly at random points in time. They always are the same thing, correct?
Well, he could. I don't think he
Because
does.
a material being cannot be in all places at all times at the same time.
Unless it's all compressed into a singular point.
I mean, then you're not everywhere because there is no everywhere. It's just one place.
Well, there was some interesting research that someone did recently that suggests that we may actually be inside a gigantic black hole.
And if we are, you'd have to be everywhere in a black hole, but then we have to know the exact
That,
mass
that,
and size of the black hole.
That means we're still inside that singularity, basically. It just expanded.
There's a universe inside the singularity that will create another universe that is inside another singularity, which creates another universe.
So there's
that would be funny.
Mathematics, and then there's like theoretical physics and actual physics, right?
And then there's crazy people.
Well, so again, I wish Sage here because it's easier to explain this. He's more up on the physics than I am on this.
Yeah, Sage, quit your job and come back to normal things.
Within the context of so at the beginning of existence, there was a point of infinite energy and infinite density.
Allegedly.
Okay. Well, no, it must exist if the laws of physics.
Must is a presumption.
If the laws of physics are correct, it must exist.
That's also an assumption.
Not an assumption, it's proven.
You said if.
I'm making a postulate.
I know. I'm using philosophical language. If you say if or must, that's a presumption. I'm not saying that the statement's inherently wrong. I'm saying the way you use the statement is
if the law exists. So is it then? There must have been a singularity from which the Big Bang occurred. So
assuming that's how it actually happened.
Well, again,
because again, the Big Bang is an assumption.
No,
one of many.
The laws of physics are proven. It's uncertain.
We're not talking about the laws of physics. We're talking about the Big Bang as an action, an event.
It's impossible for this universe to exist without a Big Bang.
That's why people have promoted different theories on how it came to be.
They've all been wrong, utterly wrong.
And some people would argue that the Big Bang is wrong. But again, I'm not saying they're right. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just stating that that's a theory somebody put forward. And I don't think you can prove it because we don't have the means to prove it.
It's a hypothesis. Okay.
You know what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that
you're not. I know what you're saying, but you're not.
I may be saying it incorrectly, but that's because I am not a physicist. I am a philosopher.
Just because someone proposes an idea, a hypothesis, does not mean it's in any way valid.
I'm not saying it's valid or invalid. I'm stating that I know that multiple scientists have come up with multiple ways the Earth could, or not the Earth, the universe could have come into existence, and people argue about them all the time. And then somebody could, I don't really care.
There's no proof about it. That's the point.
There is no evidence to show it. There's only a presumption if we work backwards.
No, there's evidence.
And then there's even a certain point where you can't even go that.
This was the genius of Einstein's general relativity, okay? General relativity, the fact that we're having this conversation right now, by the means we're doing it, proves general relativity exists. It's the most validated set of laws that possibly exist in all of science, okay?
Well, I would say unless more evidence comes to light, but that's a different story.
Every bit of evidence that's ever been produced proves the law, proves
but that does not.
Every bit of research
that does not disclude other evidence that we have not come across yet.
Anytime someone conceives of something that could invalidate general relativity, the few times it does, it's a case of having to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
I'm not saying it's wrong. You keep thinking I'm saying this thing's wrong. I'm not saying it's wrong. I never said anything you have said is wrong.
If general relativity is true, then a Big Bang must have occurred from a singularity. Must have.
But if you had no concept of the singularity or the Big Bang, you could not say that same thing.
Me? We're talking God.
Science in general. Because without the concept of a Big Bang or without the concept of a singularity, you would not know that it must come from a singularity or a Big Bang.
For those listening, this is one of the scientific proofs that that a creator being possibly exists. Okay.
Which one? That's a question.
Where did the laws of physics come from?
Well, some people argue that they've always been there. But that's a different story.
Must predate the existence of the Big Bang.
Well, yeah, but if somebody else puts another hypothesis forward and that quote unquote more valid,
But those who understand the context of this don't understand. Time, space, and matter all did not come into existence simultaneously with the Big Bang. They came after it, at specific times. And time,
that's the
space, and matter.
age-old philosophical question of is how do you have something exist prior to the existence, and what caused that existence to happen and exist, I should say.
And so that again, it's hypothetically possible that God, the creator being, that not God of the Bible, but God, the creator being, right? So keep it separate.
Little g.
For the sake of argument, right? That being is not in fact omnipotent and eternal. Okay, he may just be a survivor of a previous universe.
Then he was caused by somebody else. Welcome to the Kalam.
That's hypothetical, right?
Well, no, that's a Kalam cosmological argument.
Well,
everything that began to exist had a creator.
Well, the point is, the reason I'm saying it that way is those laws of physics have to come from somewhere and predate the Big Bang or the Big Bang. Not only would the singularity not exist, it would not have exploded into the particular universe we have today. Okay, so that's one of the questions we have that point out that a God that scientifically speaking points out that God possibly exists. Now, the reason I say those laws of physics tell us that God exists isn't just because of the Bible. It's because ultimately that being, like let's say it was Bob, let's say it was Zeus who created the universe, right?
King Bob.
Well, someone has to create Zeus, and I would say that falls back to.
Well, we already know that Zeus doesn't have that power because he's pretty freaking weak. But
you get the point I'm making, right? That even if you want to argue that Zeus made the laws of physics and created the universe, okay, or whatever, they're limited beings, so that someone must have created them, and the only being we describe
the only being that cannot be created is an eternal being, which means that if you go the domino backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards, eventually you'll have to come to an eternal being under philosophy.
Nietzsche has an interesting argument about that, about what creation really means.
Of course, a psychologist would. I wonder what it means.
Well, no, I'll keep it simple because there's some lengthy. He speaks about it in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, and also in Beyond Good and Evil, and a couple other books. But he says that the idea of creation is even though on one level you can say it's making something from nothing or whatever.
Ex nihilo.
I'm paraphrasing. He says, arguably, the true idea of creation is valuation. So even if you were to create something from nothing, if you don't define it and like define what that is, if you don't evaluate it properly for what the value of that thing is, you haven't really created anything.
If you assign a purpose to something, you by definition are evaluating it.
Yeah. So
which is allegedly what a creator God would do.
Yeah. So like if God makes 17 universes and 3 of them are full
why would he have to make 17?
He's bored.
How can a perfect being be bored?
I don't know.
That's a human.
Maybe he just likes creating universes. Who knows?
Yes, but he would be bound by the same rules and reasons that he would come to in this world and universe, which means he would be making 17 of the exact same universe.
Why would he do that?
My point. Why would he do that?
Because he have to make 3 of them that are full of dog poop and nothing else.
No. Oh gosh, we don't have enough time to go in that theology and philosophy because that would be a 15-hour thing.
Let me make my point, okay? The point I'm making is, if this being God makes something and doesn't evaluate it and produce a value to it, and
if it's a creator being that is eternal, perfect, and has all the good attributes, which is
he's not going to make something he doesn't care about.
True.
That's the point I'm making.
But him caring is him evaluating it by giving it a purpose and a process.
Well, regardless of how you define that, the point I'm getting at is he's going to create something, and this is Nietzsche's point, not just for the sake of making something from nothing, but because he has interest in it and evaluates it and so forth.
Well, yes, and in terms of theology and philosophy, they would call that a personable or a person creator God would be personable and create thus humans to be personable with.
Descartes, you know who Descartes is, René Descartes?
sounds familiar. I don't memorize everything. I have to
You might
refresh.
know science with Cartesian coordinates like XY grid
Yeah.
or Descartes' rule of science.
Okay.
He was also a religious, a philosopher, and a theologist. Okay.
I mean, the name sounds familiar. I couldn't point to everybody that I've ever heard mentioned.
Well, not everyone knows that Rene Descartes was more than just a mathematician. Okay.
Mm.
He was a philosopher and he was a
Professor John
theologist.
Lennox is a fantastic mathematician from Oxford.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, so one of Descartes has a proof of God that, and one of the points he makes in it is that um, God is not uncaring, right?
Yeah,
So,
he's personable.
well, then I'm not saying he's personal. I'm saying he could be. I'm saying that he doesn't create something just to, oh, I'm just going to make a move.
He has purpose. Yes.
He's interested. Not just purpose, he's interested in what he creates.
Well, I know a personable deity would be one that cares about what he makes and would, by definition, apply value to everything he does.
I think he does care. When I say interested, I mean he's curious about it. He's
Why
fascinated.
would a perfect being be curious?
Like, why would he be personable?
Because there's a triune deity, and he is by definition personable to be a triune deity.
Personal means like friendly means why would God be friendly and benign?
Because he's a perfect being?
We are made in the image of God, therefore God must have all of our attributes.
No, God doesn't have all of our attributes.
Then we can't be in his image.
That's not what that means, but
our image of God, well, the image of God is basically our
God
soul.
cannot have all of our attributes because we have attributes that are evil.
Well, just because we
God cannot be selfish. God cannot be sinful.
Well,
God cannot lie. God cannot lots of things.
Cannot be simple because he's God. He knows that sin is wrong.
That's what I'm saying. Well, I'm saying he's perfect. Perfection cannot be imperfect. That's the whole thing. Is that all powerful cannot be all powerful.
He can be perfect in a sense that
it's like saying a divine God can stop being divine. No, he can't stop being divine. He's still divine. He can just take on additional nature. That's where we get Jesus from.
Well, evil is not defined as something we have; it's something we can choose.
Yes, it's the corruption of perfection. Yes.
Okay, so God doesn't make us to have evil; it's just something within our. It's something.
God gives us the capacity to choose evil, but He does not make us choose evil.
By making us limited, He gives us the capacity. If He were to make, in other words, being.
Anything created is by definition going to be less than.
Okay, this is again maybe a Catholic versus Protestant argument. Okay,
that's just theological, I guess.
Evil in Catholic terms is a hole. It's a gap. In other words, if you define, when you commit evil, it's not because you're committing evil; it's because you're not committing good.
I don't agree with that.
That's Protestant.
That doesn't logically follow from a philosophical standpoint. So that's why I disagree with it. But I would apply it more to, let's say God creates you and pure goodness and everything, and you're wearing like a white robe. Well, you do something wrong. You disobey, you do something evil, and it puts a black dot on you. Well, the black dot can't just come off. It's there. It's stuck. Everything you do that's wrong continually, gradually accumulates, and you will constantly have. And all it takes is one speck for you to be separated from the creator. So if that was the case, it only takes one sin. It doesn't require you to sin indefinitely all the time forever, despite you having the capability to do so.
Sin doesn't separate you from the creator because God forgives. What separates from the creator is not acknowledging Christ.
Yes, but the God forgives part is the whole Christ thing. That's literally the doctrine.
Okay, you can be the most morally sound person, but if you don't accept Christ, you're still going to hell.
Yes, but in your morality, if you reject God, that's disobedience and thus is a sin by definition. It's the blight. That's the thing. It doesn't come off just because you do good things.
You typically have to accept that your salvation comes through Jesus Christ.
Yes, because you rejecting God, not actively choosing God, which is choosing Jesus Christ, not accepting Jesus Christ is literally the disobedience, which is the sin, which is, no matter how moral you are and everything else, that's the one thing that blights you, and that's game over. That's it.
But the other things don't blight you because
No, the other things do blight you because they're also disobedience, pride, selfishness.
Well, there's
conceit.
of secondary importance to the one thing.
Well, yes, because without the other one, you have no forgiveness.
So you could be 100% morally correct.
Put it this way: Jesus is Mr. Clean, and you have a blight. If you do everything but get Mr. Clean to clean the blight, it doesn't matter. The blight's still there, and the blight is separating you.
Catholic versus Protestant argument.
Maybe you should mix the arguments then instead of you constantly just using Catholic, but that's a different story. Just because they're Catholic doesn't mean they're correct.
Because there's too many Protestant interpretations.
I don't care about other people's interpretations. I'm only basing it off of theological and philosophical. That's how it's described scripturally. Regardless of if you're Eastern Orthodox, Catholic, or Protestant, or whatever, it doesn't matter. And I will also point out that Protestants are literally just Catholics that just got kicked out because they didn't like literally every single of the early Reformations were Catholic, and then they said, we disagree with the Catholic Church on this thing, and the Catholic Church says, here's the boot. That's literally how Protestant came into existence.
If you don't follow Catholic theology, you can't be Catholic or Orthodox.
Yes, but Catholic Orthodoxy is not exclusively scriptural or apostolic. A lot of it is accretion. Therefore, it doesn't follow that
some of it is.
True. If you cannot discuss, yeah, I agree. Some of it is, but some of Protestantism is as well, and so is Eastern Orthodoxy, and so is other things. Like it's irrelevant.
Eastern Orthodoxy and Catholicism are theologically identical.
No, they are not. They are absolutely not. Not even close.
And the Catholic will not be able to get communion in an Eastern Orthodox church, and you can.
No, I'm saying one has a pope, the other one denies the existence of the pope. That's a Catholic doctrine that they cannot literally have and be identical. They cannot be identical and be different.
They don't deny the existence of the Pope.
Not the existence of the Pope. They deny the authority of the Pope.
No, they don't deny the authority of the, because the Pope is the
first among equals.
The arch whatever.
He's the Archbishop of Rome. Or the Bishop of Rome, whatever.
What are the leader of each Orthodox church? Isn't it prelate or something
patriarch?
Like that? Patriarch, yeah. The Pope is the patriarch of the Catholic Church.
Except he has way more power than the patriarch does.
What they don't accept, which is not based in the Bible, is that the line of Peter, the Pope, has authority over the other patriarchs.
Yeah.
In other words, in the Orthodox churches, all the patriarchs are equal.
And thank you for proving that they're not identical.
No, but there's nothing in the Bible that says that the Pope has anything.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying you said they're identical, and I said, okay, well this, and you're like, yeah, well, except for this and this. I'm like, yes, that means they're not identical.
If they weren't theologically identical, you cannot get communion or get married in an Orthodox church if you're Catholic, or vice versa, and you can.
Well, you can get baptized in one and still be recognized in the other. Yes.
All the seven sacraments as a Catholic, you can get in an Orthodox church, and then they're acknowledging.
Sure, but they acknowledge their own authority, not the others. The thing, so like, if somebody gets baptized in a Catholic church and then goes to Eastern Orthodox, them saying you've been baptized is their acknowledgement of the authority of God and the Holy Spirit, not the authority of the Catholic Church. That's the difference. It's like they're not acknowledging the Catholic Church. They're acknowledging that God used the Catholic Church to perform the baptism.
That the Catholic interpretation is theologically correct.
Well, I mean, they can both agree on. I'm sure that they agree on plenty of things. It's not their agreements that define them as different. It's their disagreements that define them as different.
There's actually pounded this one in about the differences. The number of theological differences between Catholic and Orthodox versus Catholic and Protestant are like
sure. Yeah, but Protestants don't claim to be on the same page as Eastern Orthodox either.
That's the point I'm making. Is there's a vast difference between Protestant and Catholic.
Sure. But just because you're Catholic, or just because you're Protestant, or just because you're Eastern Orthodox, does not mean you're theologically correct. None of that makes logical sense in any shape or form.
Nor does it mean the other side is theologically correct.
I literally just covered everything, which means none of them are by definition logically or theologically correct just because they are. That's not what makes them theologically correct. What makes them theologically correct is because they follow the theologically correct beliefs. If they deter or if they accrete something that is not theologically sound, then by definition, they are not following that particular belief because of theological.
You are picking the theologies and philosophies that agree with you.
No, Because not being religious would be the best choice for somebody like that.
No, you do. This is one of your things you do a lot. Okay, you pick philosophical and theological arguments, or even scientific arguments that back your position. You're not objective.
What's my position?
In this particular case, we're talking about the nature of evil.
But what's my position?
You're saying that evil is something that is in mankind. So the nature, it's in mankind.
No, that's not my position. My position is that mankind can do evil, and that evil creates a blight, and that blight is something that needs to be forgiven, and that forgiveness has to come through Jesus. If Jesus,
the initial thing you said, mankind can do evil, is a very Protestant interpretation. Okay, the Catholic interpretation is mankind can only do good, but when we choose not to do good, we're doing evil.
We cannot always choose to do good and then do evil. That's not logically following, regardless of what you want it to be. I don't pick my positions because I want them to be true. I pick them because I'm convinced they are true. That's the difference.
Why doesn't it logically follow?
Why doesn't it?
Yeah.
How can you always choose to do good and then still do evil?
No. You have to choose to do good things all the time.
Yes, you have to choose, but that's not anti-Protestant.
If you don't choose to do good things, by definition, on the Catholic term, you're doing evil.
So washing the back of a rat is a good thing? If you want to have a pet rat and you have to make sure that they're hygienic, like what is defined as good? There's plenty of neutral things to eat, to do, to perform. Like there's lots of things that don't do. They're not everything in the planet is a moral issue.
Under Catholic terms, they are.
If I greet you in the morning and I don't wave to you, is that morally corrupt or morally acceptable?
This is like telling you, Protestantism, one of their core tenets of most Protestantism is a separation between the moral and the material. Okay, under Catholicism and Orthodoxy, there's no separation.
If I greet you in the morning and I wave at you or I don't wave at you, which one is evil? Which one is good?
What's the context of you waving or not waving at me?
I'm greeting you in the morning. I'm saying, hello, Matt. If I go, hello, Matt, or if I just say, hello, Matt, which one of those is good? Which one of those is evil?
Why aren't you waving at me?
It's a greeting. That's just a typical greeting.
Okay, why are you shooting to greet me?
Because it's a day that is good to be greeted on.
So, are you shooting to greet me just because it's a habit, or are you shooting to greet me because you like me?
It doesn't matter. It pick all of them. Which one of those is evil and which one of those is not evil?
It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. Because it's a non-issue. It's a neutral issue. I don't have to. It's not good to greet you in the morning because greetings are societally based. Not every society greets people.
It is because greetings bind society together as a form of social engineering.
But that's social engineering. That's not theological engineering. Theological engineering is the morality aspect, not social engineering. If it was morally reprehensible to greet people in the morning,
again, you're very Protestant based on this one, okay?
It's nothing to do with the Protestants, dude. Literally nothing. This is purely based off of philosophy and theology.
So Protestant philosophy and theology.
I could pick the EO. I could pick Coptic. I could pick literally every freaking other thing other than Catholic. You are obsessed with the Catholics. I don't know why. But you do you, boo. I don't care. But like what I'm saying is that the Catholic Church cannot say that every action you take is moral or immoral, because there are some actions that are not moral or immoral. Is it immoral or moral to throw a baseball in the air and catch it in a glove? It's not a moral thing. It's literally just a thing. There's no morality. It's what?
It depends on why.
Because you just felt like it. You like baseball. I don't freaking know.
Throwing the ball in the air to keep it away from a little kid who wants to play with it, then it's immoral.
I didn't bring a kid into the thing. You have to bring in other things to do that. I'm saying just me going, whoop, catch, whoop, catch. Is that moral or immoral?
Based on the way you describe, be moral.
How does that be? How in any term of moral is that moral?
You're exercising, increasing your bodily health, which is a good thing.
I do that by doing immoral things too.
But we're not talking about the other moral things.
Utilizing muscles?
We're talking about the one specific thing you mentioned, which was playing catch for yourself.
Is it okay for me to go in an alley and box somebody into oblivion?
Depends.
Just because.
There's no just because.
That is just because. I just chose one day I want to go over and I'll punch this guy in an alleyway and I'm just going to beat the ever-loving snot out of him. Is that moral? The answer is no.
That's immoral.
That's immoral. If I do it in a professional ring, is it immoral? The answer is no. But if I choose to just shadow box the air, that's not immoral or immoral. There is no target. There is no law against doing that.
What if you your shadow box in the air? You're training yourself to go beat the up in the alley.
Even if I was training myself for the action of going to beat somebody in the alley in an immoral way, if I never actually go do the immoral thing, it is not immoral.
Yes, it is.
No.
Again, this is if in a Catholic and Eastern Orthodox interpretation. I'm not arguing that they're superior. I'm arguing that your way of saying.
You're arguing that they're correct, which is weird because that's
arguing
weird.
You're
I'm saying if Eastern Orthodox or a Catholic or a Protestant sat in the same room and I asked them the same question and I gave them a neutral icon, like if you're just doing this isn't doing that much any more than you walking. Walking does not do that much.
Protestant thought aligned itself with earlier Jewish interpretations of moral laws. Under Judaism,
not inherently, no.
Yes, they did. Martin Luther even goes off on about it.
I don't agree with Martin Luther just because he's a Protestant.
Under Judaism, if there are no such things as thought crimes, essentially, I mean,
I never said that was true.
You keep saying it's true, but
no. So Jesus explicitly states, if you hate someone in your heart, you basically have murdered them. It's on the equivalence of murder. But I have to have a target for that hate. If I just pick a random person and I'm saying, I'm going to go downtown, I'm going to find the first person, I'm going to go rough them up. Well, there's no target. I don't hate anyone. I'm not doing any of the immoral things that I would be accused of doing if I were to do it. But if I start working out and, shadow boxing, you're like, you know what? This is a good outlet to just vent some frustration or whatever. And then I change it completely and I'm not doing that thing. I didn't do that thing. Therefore, I can't be convicted of it.
You're right or wrong. I'm saying that there's an equal amount of philosophical and religious argument.
There's lots. Anybody can make a philosophical argument. Doesn't mean that argument's good. Doesn't even mean mine's good. I'm just saying that I'm making a philosophical argument based upon what I believe to be true because I was convinced it could be true, but I'm not going to be married to it in any shape or form.
Yeah, so
Catholics typically think they are.
What we were talking about, which was the nature of evil and whether mankind is what does being made in the image of God mean, okay? Your argument is that man can choose to do evil. Am I correct in that?
I would say man desires to do evil.
I would say man desires, not necessarily.
Not necessarily. No. Man desires to do evil because if it comes between doing the good thing or doing the thing that they believe will benefit more, they typically choose to do the thing that benefits them more.
I think
the only people who choose to do the good thing are the people who are choosing to do go towards God.
I can ground this in reality. Okay, so do you ever hear the TV show SWAT?
That doesn't narrow it down, but maybe.
So SWAT was a show in the 70s, and they just did a 7-year run on a revival of it, right? And I'm watching it now, and I watched season 2. I think there's a character whose name is Deacon because he's a religious person, and his name is actually like DK. It's very close to Deacon. So
Donkey Kong.
His SWAT name is Deacon. Okay.
Okay.
And he's a very religious person. He has a big family, the whole bit, right?
Sure.
So he has he's having his 4th kid, and now once he's SWAT and he gets overtime, he makes like $300,000 a year, right? But then in LA,
sure,
because SWAT kind of parallels what happened in LA because it takes place in LA, they made big cuts to the police budget. Remember back around when all that BLM crap happened? Right?
Okay.
So he loses all his overtime and workable hours, and he has a kid coming, right?
Okay.
He has a lot of financial problems.
Okay.
So he is very well intended. He wants to take care of his family. He doesn't want to accept outside help or whatever. The point I'm getting at is he goes down a slippery slope of intending to do the good thing of take care of his family and be independent. At first, he refuses to accept help from his friends. Then he goes to a loan shark that he knows to make a deal. Then he can't pay off the $10,000 loan because of the loss of the overtime. He agrees to do something that's legal first for the loan shark, legal and moral, but then the loan shark wants more to pay back. He said, "Will you run this plate?" So Deacon stops it and said, I'm not going any further." But he did go down that road of, because he wanted to do the right thing, he did veer towards evil by not accepting that his pride was limiting him.
What was evil that he veered toward?
Well, again,
The loan shark?
no. The initial loan wasn't. But when he couldn't pay back the loan promptly, the loan shark was trying to draw him into being a corrupt cop.
Sure, but somebody drawing you in is not the same as you doing. That's not the same thing. Temptation is not the same thing as performing the actual thing.
That Deacon was letting himself fall down the slippery slope because he wanted
Did he do anything evil?
Well, for 10 minutes.
What, like he started running the plates and he stopped?
No, he didn't run the plate. What happened was there was a bunch of stolen money that when they recovered it, he picked up like 10 grand, but then he put it back 10 minutes later. And then
that's called temptation. That's not.
No, it is. He did the sin, but then he balanced it out.
I would argue he didn't do the sin.
And again,
because okay, if I pick up the 10 grand, I'm like, man, I could really use this, and then I put it down.
No, he put it in his pocket. He put it in his pocket.
Okay, that's different. That's theft. Yeah, sure.
But then he put it back. Okay. Like 10 minutes later, and he fessed up to it and accepted punishment and moved on.
Okay, then he's fine.
The point I'm making is, because he wanted to do by his family, he got blinded by the pride of and all that.
Well, he got blinded by pride. That was the issue.
Yeah, but the core was he wanted to do good for his family. So
that doesn't mean anything.
It does.
No.
You have to understand why.
I can understand the motivation, but I'm saying is that doesn't excuse anything he does.
No. The point I'm making is he desire to do good by his family overwhelms his sense of not noticing his pride causing a fall.
Sure.
And that is an interpretation. That is how most people fall to evil. There are rare few individuals, whether you want to claim it's demonic or they're just born fucking psychopaths like Jeffrey Dahmer, right? Whether they're born that way or they're possessed. Either way, there's rare few people who do evil for evil's sake. You know what I mean? They're like Deacon or you or me, we might go down a slippery slope and commit a sin. You know what I mean?
Well, here's a situation in which most people who have worked a job in their life can recognize and probably relate with. You can do the right thing and, train somebody at your job to do a good job at the work, or because you heard a rumor that they could be replacing you, you could shaft them and train them incorrectly so that they get fired, and that thus preserving your position. That's a moral versus an immoral thing, because you're choosing to do the wrong thing to preserve yourself as opposed to doing the right thing, which is, despite it hurting you in the long term, it's something that's going to be the right thing because you're not doing wrong by somebody else, which would be the definition of immoral.
I would agree with you in that specific scenario.
Well, I'm saying that's just a scenario. I don't have unlimited knowledge of every possible way you could do things wrong. Most things that are immoral are internal from a person who I can't have access to their knowledge. I can see the effects and the overall plan, like when you did the SWAT thing, when you lay out every detail.
Yeah.
Then you can look at that type of stuff, but that's not average on a person's life. Like you can just go out and say, "Oh, well, this guy was sleeping with his secretary instead of his wife," and it's like, okay, well, that's immoral.
An example is because I'm positing.
Both I am fine. Yeah,
it depends on I get the context of the word. I am postulating that the majority of evils humans do are not evil.
It's not a matter of the majority of evil or the majority or the minority of the evil. The fact is that people do evil. That's the only thing that is consistent.
Let me keep finishing as a point in this, okay? Now, except for the evil types like Jeffrey Dahmer or Hitler or whatever, the 99% who do evil
just pick the top people and
do evil by not doing good.
Well, that depends. That's a very weird way to phrase that, because by not doing good, are you not doing good by going out and giving your money out to every homeless person you see?
In your training example, right? Okay, back to your training example. The good would be training that person. to deliberately choosing not to train that person by mistraining them.
That's immoral. Yes, that'd be evil.
So they're not choosing. Are they choosing to? Are they choosing?
They're choosing to train them incorrectly to preserve their position. That's something that pretty much all workers.
A person with things like that will be in the small percentage, and they'd be a sociopath.
No. If you can lose your job and you don't have another job lined up and you don't know how to take care of your family, that doesn't make you a sociopath. That just means you're putting your interests above somebody else's
But then you're not doing the wrong thing. If you are
doing the wrong thing because that's not a good thing to do to people.
The only way you have to pay for your family, you're not doing the wrong thing.
No, it is. If Deacon pockets the 10,000 because he has to take care of his own family, he's still doing the wrong thing.
If that was the only way to take care of his family, it's not.
No, it is. It still is.
No.
Doing the right thing is not a painless path. That's the whole point.
Again, if his family would die because it didn't take $10,000, which is the possibility the case,
they're not going to just drop dead because he doesn't pay back $10,000.
His wife had a medical condition.
Okay, then he has to find another way to pay it. That's the moral, because sacrifice is something that the moral aspect is going to require more often than not. But that's
when confronted with two evils and you can't choose anything else.
He had other things to choose. He had other things to choose. He could have chosen help from his friends and family.
He did. That's the point of why he was wrong.
I know, but my point is that scenario, like if it's the decision between me having to, like, my wife's in the hospital and she's got medical whatever, and I have to go rob a bank to keep her alive, or I like that robbing the bank doesn't, like, oh, it's not immoral, judge, because my wife needs to be treated and I needed the money to do it. That's not how morality works. You could say you had good intentions, but you still did evil. That, like, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Like that's an irrelevant system to run by. You can't just say, well, it's okay because you did good by your family. Well, if I have to do bad by somebody else's family to do good by my family, that means I'm not a good person by definition.
It's still a sin, yes, but it's not as bad as if you had no other choice.
Sin's a sin. There are levels of it, but they're all still sin. They all do the same thing. They all have the same effect.
Yeah, that's a very Protestant way of thinking.
No, that's literally Jesus saying, if you hate your brother in your heart, it's the same as murdering him physically. How many people hate somebody in their life out of the 7 billion people that are alive right now?
Probably more than half.
Way more than that. Probably 99.9%, if not 100%, hate at least one person in their life. They might not dwell upon it, but they do hate them, at least for a time. And maybe they seek whatever redemption they want to. But the point is that we don't know the exact number because it's internal and it's between them and God.
Okay.
But that's still a sin. So that's
gone down one of our interesting debate rabbit holes for like an hour.
By the way, MasterCard and Visa.
Yeah.
So we'll get back to that so we can.
MasterCard's a sin.
MasterCard is a sin, surprisingly. Let me pull this back up. Thank you, everybody, for putting up with that nonsense, or just skip it all and come back to the stuff.
If we bothered editing videos, we would break the video there.
If I could edit it and had time to do so before the time to leave, because I'm going to be out of town, so I don't have time to edit, quite literally. Even if I had the knowledge, I wouldn't have time to do it. But yes, here we are. Valve confirms MasterCard uses third parties for their dirty work to try on to protect their brand, while at the same time forcing its censorship on the Steam. The term cited is quite clear. Any content, legal or not, that MasterCard deems a problem to the brand can be an issue. MasterCard is lying about allowing all legal content, which again is what I was posing as a point. Kiwi Farms has this whole thing where they're like, Kotaku has received a response. I don't know what that means. From Valve, confirming that payment processors and... Sorry. Killbug. Payment processors and acquiring banks cited MasterCard network rules as justification for banning adult games. And then there's links you can go to on their page and whatnot. But updated August 1st, 4:18 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And statement to Kotaku, don't talk to Kotaku is the first step, but a spokesperson for Valve said that while MasterCard did not communicate with it directly, concerns did come through payment processor and banking intermediaries. They said that payment processors rejected Valve's current guidelines for moderating illegal content on Steam, citing MasterCard's Rule 5.12.7. MasterCard did not communicate with Valve directly despite our request to do so. Valve's statement sent over email to Kotaku reads, MasterCard communicated with payment processors and their acquiring banks. Payment processors communicated this with Valve, and we replied by outlining Steam's policy since 2018 of attempting to distribute games that are legal for distribution. Payment processors rejected this and specifically cited MasterCard's Rule 5.12.7 and risk to the MasterCard brand. Rule 5.12.7 states, a merchant must not submit to its acquirer and a customer must not submit to the interchange system any transaction that is illegal or in the sole discretion of the corporation may damage the goodwill of the corporation or reflect negatively on the marks. It goes on. The sale of the product or service, including an image which is patently offensive and lacks serious artistic value, such as by the way of example and not limitation, images of non-consensual sexual behavior or sexual exploitation of a minor, non-consensual mutilation of a person or body part and bestiality, or any other material that the corporation deems unacceptable to sell in connection with a mark. Violations of Rule 5.12.7 can result in fines, audits, or companies being dropped by the payment processors. So, yes. Now, it's that weird things, because, like, I don't understand how they go with the whole brand damage, because brand damage doesn't make logical sense when nobody thinks, you purchased from Steam something that I don't like, therefore, MasterCard! Like, nobody even thinks about MasterCard. They don't even think about MasterCard when they look at their card from MasterCard. They just say, I have a card that's my money.
Brand damage means like boycotts and law changes.
What do you call everyone just assaulting MasterCard, Visa, and PayPal with just tons of just communications, complaints, and just overwhelming just what I would call damage to the brand? They damage the brand by doing the very thing that they say was protect them from damaging their brand.
They don't care about MasterCard and Visa. Don't care about like complaint letters or whatever. They care about lawsuits. They care about law changes, and they care about boycotts.
They care about their stock prices.
Well, that affects their stock price, so to speak.
And speaking of stock prices, yes. Look at that. MasterCard's dropped down after shooting up and then shooting back down again.
That's normal.
Visa going down. Sure, but they're on a steady decline. Like, they're not just...
They would be, because over the last 6 months under Trump, the U.S. economy is becoming less debt dependent, so they're losing business.
Good. But even if, let's say hypothetically speaking, this didn't happen. Let's assume that they just, whatever. The vast amount, and did I have that added in here? I think I did. Let me check real quick. I had something else. I thought, I don't know where it is. There was a particular... So somebody had mailed, or no, maybe I put that in the regular one. Somebody had gotten, I'm definitely not seeing it. Okay, I don't remember where I posted it, but I posted it somewhere. But basically, there was a person who called MasterCard and basically spent 20 plus minutes, multiple phone calls, complaining to them about stuff. And apparently he was the one that pushed him over the edge, because the lady called him a bigot and just screamed at him and whatever, and wouldn't let him talk to the supervisor, blah, blah, blah. Like somebody's having an impact somewhere, because they're getting bombasted for a ton of things. So
You also remember, there are people at MasterCard, right? So some of these corporations are taken over, some corporations are taken over by woke people. I don't know that MasterCard or Visa have been taken over by woke people, because they're banks and banks tend to be resistant to that. But the person
They're
behind
Mr. Krabs. Money.
the person who answered the phone call might have been a very woke person, you know.
Possibly. But apparently there's been thousands and thousands of calls to complain and whatnot, and apparently different sources, which I again can't find. So take that with how much
Well,
grain of salt you want to.
that's
But
probably a campaign by the left to try to get someone debanked. They've done that
no,
before.
it's a campaign of gamers pissed that you're pissing with their games. That's a pretty
Oh
easy.
no, I
Like
heard about that, but I also heard
declaring war on gamers is never a winning strategy. Let's put it
but I
that
also
way.
heard that there was an organized campaign by the left to get some companies debanked.
Oh, sure, that could be it too. But here's the thing: that means that the payment processors are pissing off both sides of the aisle. Although I would argue there's more than two sides of the aisle, but that's a different story. Um, they're pissing off everybody, and that means everybody's angry at them. Yada yada yada. So if somebody's going in there and being like, why aren't you doing this? And here's the thing: is that once somebody else, like let's say Gab or let's say Elon comes up with his payment processing system and that he wants to do, and everybody else starts popping up their payment processors out of the blue. If that starts happening, those companies will get more powerful really quickly because of this, and or the government will step in and say you can't be both a publisher and a platform. You can be one or the other.
um,
And that's the same thing that happened with Facebook, YouTube, blah 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 blah, where they're like, we want to be the platform so we can, or was it platform or publishers? It's the one that like controls everything, and the other one is just
well, a platform presents stuff, a publisher creates stuff.
yeah. So they want the benefits of being a platform, but they want to behave like a publisher.
Well, that was I think it's called Section 232 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But that whole thing is them saying we want these protections, but we also want to do this thing so we can basically be immune to everything. And nobody liked that. I don't remember what happened with that in the grand scheme of things.
Well, no law has changed, but some court decisions have weakened it.
Which is what we need them to keep weakening it. We need them to break them down. It's like, look, if you want to be a payment processor and people have their money and they want to make a purchase with their money, you don't have to like or dislike anything that they're doing as long as it's legal. And that should literally be it, but apparently it can never be that simple. So
Well, like I said, it's complicated because of every little thing you put in the law always exposes other shit to happen, And I mean, do you want to add politics as a special protected class like sex and like race and ethnicity? I don't know about that, but
do I want those as protected classes?
well, we know they already are. Race.
Well, no. I thought was that what you were saying? I don't remember what you said.
What I'm saying is, okay, so because of the 1963 Civil Rights Act, some other act after that, and then the American with Disabilities Act, race, ethnicity, sex, and disability status are protected. Meaning you can't say you can't have a bank account because you're black or disabled or whatever, right? Or you can't tell a person they can't go into your business because they're black or disabled or something like that, right? So
can you tell a person that is banking with you that you will no longer do business and then take all their money?
not if the reason is because they're black or disabled.
Oh, but it's okay to do any other reason.
Correct. Well, taking the money would be.
I'm sorry. Stealing someone's money and not returning it to them because you don't want to do business is not.
Again, the way you would do it is first you would file a criminal charge against them for fraud and see if that sticks up, and then you would go to civil court and sue them and get your money back. That's just the way it works. So
Well, you think
back
that would be a de facto outcome, but apparently that's not, because it's the same thing as if the cops take your stuff because you're traveling between one place and another place with a certain amount of money that they deem to be too expensive. They're like, "Oh, you must be doing something wrong with this," and then they take it. It's like,
that's their flimsy argument. The reason
sure,
they take
and it should not hold up anytime it's brought up.
The reason they get away with it is because the majority of people who they take the money from, or the car or whatever, right, don't have the means to sue them.
Sure, and that's why the justice system's flawed. But yes.
Yeah. Well, again, so the courts have cracked down a bit on silver forfeiture over the past.
See, it should be like, it's the same thing for laws. Anytime a judge makes a ruling, he needs to write like a 17-book essay on why it is or isn't
Well, they do.
good. I highly doubt they write 17 books. But
they write
like a page saying, here's my feelings on this, and then it's over with.
No. They'll often only show you the header page with the legal decision checked off, whatever. They're usually accompanying it, the decision, like dozens or hundreds of pages of all supporting legal documentation.
Oh no, hundreds of pages. That's like not even one book. I'm saying that it needs to be more of a nuisance to the judge to write that much content to explain his actions or her actions, whoever.
Like the judge is going to make a decision, okay, and he's going to say to his clerks, "I'm making the following decision, based generally speaking on this, that, and that. Get it all together, put it in order, because this is standardized, almost standardized formatting for point." And then he'll read over, say, "No, change that paragraph there, cite Kessler versus Jones there, some other stuff he wants to throw in there." And then at the end, he'll sign off on this I don't know, 100-page document saying that, you can have your $47 back that the cops stole from you.
I don't know if cops steal $47, but
well, I'm just simplifying it,
Yeah.
And I know it's just that we're exposed to in the public the sort of the header sheet where the judge checks the boxes off. But those other pages exist.
Okay. And if they are, personally, I think they should be peer reviewed by all other judges, but whatever.
Then we have no functional legal system.
We don't have a functional legal system per se.
We have an incredibly functional legal system.
None of people can't afford to use the legal system.
It doesn't mean it's not awesomely functional.
Because then you're going to literally disparage everyone because they can't, like, oh, I can steal from you because you can't sue me. You can't afford to. It's like, okay, well, there's justice right there.
Again, over, like, I want to say 85% of our legal system is fine. It's always,
unfortunately, the 85% that's fine is the part that not really matters as much as the other side.
Well, no, it works fine. I mean, nothing is perfect except God, right? So, how close can you get to perfect?
Let's say open that can of worms all over again.
Well, we don't have to. We both would agree on that. So, yeah. like nothing. If God is the only perfect thing that exists, right? We're not going to get a perfect legal system. So how close can we get?
Sure, but that's the thing is that even a decent legal system would have a check and balance on itself to basically say, if this is the situation, this is how we need to react with it. And I don't feel that that's the case.
But ours does have checks and balances. You have appellate courts, you have federal courts, you have legislatures and executives.
And all those require this thing called money. And if you don't have money, you can't do anything. It's not like, hey, I need to go to the judge and say, hey, judge, I had $10,000 in my car that I was transporting to a place that I could deposit it or to my own private residence and put it into a safe for whatever reason, because it doesn't need to be any reason to it. I was transporting my own money from point A to point B. The cops pulled me over, took my $10,000. I want it back. The judge should be like, cops, do you have any legal reason to withhold this? Well, we assume I didn't ask for your assumptions. Do you have any evidence? No, give him his money back.
Well,
no money involved. The guy doesn't pay anything. He just submits it.
They have evidence. Whether it's valid is the question.
That's what I'm saying. Is them saying, "Oh, we think he's doing illegal drug cartel type stuff or whatever." Like, assumption is not a thing. Evidence saying we have actual legitimate proof. We've been watching this guy for 20 years, and here's all this stuff. Blah blah blah. Yeah,
that's what the trial is for. The proof to see if the evidence is valid.
Sure, but that's what I'm saying is that the judge should just look at them and say, provide your evidence that this is proof.
That's what the trial is for.
No, because the trial requires you have your accuser and your defenders and blah, 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 which all require money. I'm saying you're petitioning the court without having to interact with the court. You're just saying, I was wrongfully stolen my goods and my property from me, my wealth.
You have to prove it.
How do you have to prove that you got your money stolen?
When you sue someone, you have to prove it.
When you what?
When you go to court and you're the protagonist, you're the prosecuting power. Okay, it's not called the prosecuting in
Well, you're not suing them.
Yes, you are. That's all you can do is sue them, or there's only
no. I'm petitioning the judge saying, "Hey, this was wrongfully taken from me."
You can't do that.
Why? that's what you would consider a fault.
What
But
is your proof that this is wrongfully taken from you?
the same proof they have that I was doing illegal things.
But you can't just go up to a judge and say, Judge, Sage stole $10 from me. Make him give it to me.
Well, if you went, say, like your bank withdrew $10,000 and you're going to another place and you never got to install your $10,000, that's at least some evidence that the cops don't even have.
How do you know that?
Because if that's the case, then you can't apply anything to evidence because everybody doesn't have evidence to things that surprise them. But I would imagine somebody who's being attacked
Again,
with a civil forfeiture would probably
of the time the right legal decision occurs. So when you
how much percent of the time?
About 85%.
That's not a good percentage.
Well, in most other countries, it's down like 40%.
Well, I'm not comparing other.
Well, that's the comparison.
No. The comparison is it just or not just? And if it's only 85% just, it's really not just.
And no. The comparison is does the system work well or not? Our system works fairly well.
Roll dice. 15%, a really bad percentage.
And
I've had things where I've had a 95% chance of succeeding in something, and just numerically mathematical stuff, I can fail.
Sometimes that's the way the ball bounces.
Sure, that's not justice though, because justice would by definition catch that and say, no, that's not true. That's not incorrect.
Well,
cannot be correct.
Again, the justice system.
You can claim that humans are faulty and all that type of stuff, but that means somebody didn't do their due diligence.
When I say 85%, I'm including criminal and civil. The justice system is just the criminal part. And the criminal part is closer to 99%.
Okay, that's a better number. Because, I mean, there is always room for error, but 15% is not a room for error.
But civil forfeiture is not a criminal act. It's a civil act.
I mean, I would argue stealing somebody's money is a criminal act, but
well,
I guess I know they don't understand it that way because they don't want to.
Settled jurisprudence that this is not criminal. 200 years of settled jurisprudence.
So if I came over to your house and stole $10,000 of your dollars, that's not a crime? Huh?
You're not the government. If you did,
the government cannot be non-criminal at all times. They have to have the capacity to be a criminal because they are in a power that which they can do a criminal activity.
The government has the power to seize private assets.
If it has a legal justified reason, sure.
Yes.
But justified reason doesn't mean, well, I think he's doing something illegal. That's not a justified reason. You have to show evidence. Now, could you set it aside and say, well, wait, sure, but if you prove, oh, well, we actually don't have a legitimate reason to take this, and you don't give it back, that's not justice. Because again, in some places, you can get your stuff civil forfeiture and never get it back, even though you are proven innocent and proven that it is yours, and everything is 100% locked tight.
Most places, even if you got to fight through it legally, it'll cost you more money than you're getting back, or more value.
Well, yeah, then I would sue for them to pay all my bills and everything for that. But yeah.
Well, that's part of the civil court. Court costs are part of that.
By definition, if somebody is like doing bad stuff to you, they should by definition pay for your fees. Like that shouldn't be a question.
Again, but that's got you have to win in court for that. Well,
I know, but I'm saying, like, let's say you win in court. Well, I'm now $3 million in debt for $10,000. It's like, well, they're paying for my $3 million by default. I don't have to fight for that. That should be just natural in the law.
It's got to be reasonable court costs. Like, you can sue for reasonable court costs.
It needs to be reasonable court costs to be in court, ironically. But anyway, different story.
Okay. Anyway, the point is, 85% overall with like 98, 99 criminal success rates, and then there's your small margin for criminal and your bigger margin for civil that need to be tweaked. And the U.S. again, it's not the best system we have, but it's the best. Well, it's the best system we have so far. And
I think there should be improvements.
Everyone does.
When will they start said improvements?
Well, they've been improving it. They've been improving it since 1776. 727 amendments, for example.
Yeah, I don't know if that's cutting it, but whatever. Anyway, on a good note, deciding from Visa and MasterCard suffering is a good thing when they're being platforms that want to be publishers. GOG. Thanks to the dedication of developers and publishers, we are launching Freedom to Buy Games, .games specifically, freedom to buy .games, to raise awareness on censorship in gaming. 13 games are now available for free for 48 hours as a part of our stand for creative freedom and preservation. We believe that if a game is legal and responsibly made, people should be able to enjoy it today and decades from now. It's our statement: when games are delisted today because of discomfort, reviving them tomorrow becomes exponentially harder. Visit freedomtobuy.games to learn more. Unfortunately, I missed that window, so I did not get to get anything. But I do like that GOG does this. I am a huge fan of GOG, which is surprising because they still are tied to CD Projekt Red, and I do not like CD Projekt Red. So there's that. But I like this concept, and I also liked, I believe, Real Life Fake Wizard is doing his own little thing as well. I'd have to like find that real quick, but let me see if I can find it.
This payment processor thing happens every 10 years. In the 80s, it was heavy metal music. In the 90s, it was rap music. You know, and I think in the 70s, it was violent movies. Um, some group always tries this crap with the payment processors. And in the modern era, thankfully, we have a wide variety of them. It's not just Visa and MasterCard.
Here's another one. Fake Wizard. Real Life Fake Wizard. We just announced fakedportal.com. Discoverability marketing for small team indie developers is hard. Gamers want to play good games from indie devs. This is a solution. It's 100% free for both parties. Everyone likes to say, play indie games or support indie developers. These are wonderful sentiments that usually end with those statements. The Fake Portal is a resource that will help gamers find fresh, new games from indie and small team developers that they otherwise might have had a hard time discovering elsewhere. Our vision is to create a resource that increases discoverability for video game creators while also empowering gamers to play new games. Sign up today and receive email updates for when we go live later this summer, fakeportal.com. So, I like that this is happening. I like that GOG's doing their stuff. I like there's actions being taken. And again, if the payment processors are diverted and completely avoided, that would be the best outcome because obviously there'd be so many other issues. And if we can do a little bit of damage to the duopolies or oligarchies, however you want to form it, I'd be happy with that. Because if there's a way around it where Steam, where I guess Itch.io, or Japanese companies or whatever, if everyone can just divert and go to another company, whether it be Elon's X payment thing he's trying to do, or Gab, or any of the other ones, if we could divert completely to those where Steam and them are like, well, we don't have to work with these losers anymore, so we're getting around this whole issue, that would be ideal, and then the issue would literally just disappear until somebody took over those payment processors and we have to redo it all over again because they don't have it inherently built into the system. And that, like, even when I made a comment on this particular thing for Real Life Fake Wizard, I was like, hey, just make sure that this has a built-in system that basically just locks it down so it always does what you want it to do, and that it can't just be changed by any willy-nilly person who ends up taking over, because then it's just going to cause problems, and we'll have to have somebody else redo this all over again, and somebody's going to try to like copyright, trademark, or whatever the concept, freaking Nintendo style, and just be like, oh no, this entire concept is actually our concept and nobody else can use that concept because that's how that should work, because it's freaking stupid.
So,
goodness.
I'm glad these companies are doing it, but it's just a band-aid. I mean, ultimately, we're going to need more.
If there's no band-aid, it's gushing blood, buddy. There ain't nothing else. There's no other alternative to fix this problem at this point.
If when Elon makes, Processor X or whatever you want to call it, his financial processor company.
X is a really dumb name.
All companies are X.
I know. That's a dumb name.
It's just the way he does it. I'm not going to complain.
I know. It's still a dumb name, but I agree.
But if, let's say he does make processor X or whatever, he has to make this the same way he intervened in the social media space with X, and the ensuing financial and economic headache and that was for him. He has to say, for if he makes processor X, because there's gonna be there's gonna be a kerfuffle over it. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Not so much in the U.S., but this will be a company that will rapidly expand to be worldwide, and they're already fighting with him over SpaceX and X. and Tesla in terms of evil corrupt politicians and all that.
Yeah.
So, how much of a headache does he want?
Well, he seems to be autistic enough to want it all, but that's on him to make those
Well,
decisions.
he's making decisions based on his, he's arguing from strength. Like when he purchased.
My argument is like companies like Gab or whatever, if they want to do payment processing, and let's even take Elon off the table. Let's just say a random company sprouts up and is a payment processor, and the payment processor's like, hey, we're going to make anything that is legal allowed. Period. And then we're not going to touch on what your things. We don't even want to know what you're purchasing. We just want to know that it's from a legal source. And then
That
boom.
could be the source of that legality, though.
Huh?
Like that could be. So the reason I phrased the way I did, like, well, let's say we make a company called Questioners that does payment processing.
Questioners.llc.
And if we base it in Canada, for example, for some reason, some stupid reason.
I'm not that retarded. Come on.
Well, let's say we did. Okay. Anything we cover would have to be something that is a legal purchase in Canada, and that the purchase is it's lawful for them to buy. So it might be legal to purchase a machine gun in Canada, but only lawful for the government to.
Sorry.
Now, bear with me. I'm just reason I'm saying that. Like a machine gun might be a legal purchase in Canada, but only might be lawful for the government to buy them. You know what I mean? So, whereas if we did it in the, say, I don't know, in Somalia, it's probably entirely legal and lawful for anyone to buy machine guns. You know what I'm saying? So if we base our company in Somalia,
guess who's got two thumbs is going to Somalia. This guy.
Yeah. That's kind of the issue here. Like, you whatever country you're going to base your parent company in, that's where what is legal comes from. Well, that's where what is lawful. So that's why you have to say the combination of both, right? Because it has to be legal to purchase the thing you want to purchase, and you must have the lawful right to purchase it, right? So, for example, it is not lawful for the U.S. to purchase is like Russian oil, for example, right? It is legal to purchase it, but it's not lawful for a person in the U.S. to do so. So, in other words, they didn't make Russian oil illegal with the current situation. They made the
purchase
U.S.
of it.
Yeah, they made those under the lawful authority of the United States, which is the 14th Amendment or whatever, to actually do it. So.
Sure. But even if that was the case, just like even if you're like, well, I'm going to bypass this and go to every single country and establish its own payment processor, and each one of those countries ran entirely by people of that country, blah 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 blah. So you don't have the whole, well, I'm from America, therefore I can't do this.
Well, you have to have a whole like there have to be zero interaction.
Well, I mean, they'd have interaction as much as you have interaction talking to literally anybody, or the government has talking to anybody.
Like, well, but there'll have to be no interaction through you. In other words, you can't be the parent company to the other companies.
Well, I'm not talking a parent company. I'm talking they're independent subsidiary type. Like they're not actually, maybe subsidiary is the wrong word. They're not under you. It's just like let's say Elon was autistic enough to make one here. Well, there's somebody else equally autistic enough to do it in Australia. Somebody autistic enough to do it in Japan. Somebody autistically enough to do it in Italy. And they're like an organization in like bare minimum content, but they're not actually like connected. They're not owned by the same people.
I get it.
Like if you put one person, like there's 200 countries or something like that. I don't know, 217 countries or something like that. But like let's say every single country that would be worth having a payment processor in has one. And everybody would be able to just interact, because if I were to, let's say, Visa, because I think Visa is more normal for people to have on the lower end. Business, I think, is more MasterCard or whatever. But let's say, they go Visa, and you're like, okay, I have my Visa. That goes to the bank intermediary, and then it's going to go to Visa itself, and then they're going to ping over to the other payment processor company, and the other payment processor company is going to be like, okay, payment incoming, blah 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 blah, and they can do whatever they freaking want to do in terms of I mean, I don't know if there's like a VPN system for credit cards or not, but that'd be kind of cool if there was. And then
Well, no,
basically,
the VPN is like you let's say you want to purchase something in Japan that is not something you could get lawful. It is something legal in Japan that is illegal in the U.S. or that's unlawful for you to purchase in the U.S. One way or the other, right? So use a VPN. You have to establish like a PO box in Japan, and get a Mastercard in Japan or Visa under a Japanese address. Purchase it there, and then have someone ship it to you from that post office box.
I feel like customs would still look at it, but that's
No, 99% of stuff that's shipped to you comes in a shipping container, and only 1% of those get looked at.
maybe. But I'm saying like there being an equivalent to a VPN for credit cards. So when they're saying you are purchasing X thing, the company doesn't actually know what you're purchasing because they don't keep that type of stuff.
Well, they do, but
No. I'm saying like it's a VPN like block. So when like you're saying I'm purchasing from Garbage R Us or something like that, and it's a fake VPN name for another company in another business in another country or whatever the case might, or even the same.
no, that's a crime.
It's a crime to say I'm not you. You don't have the right to see what I'm purchasing.
Well, you can't do it that way. You have to hide it in your anonymity. You can't create fraudulent identities to what do they call them, shell corporations.
It's not. It's not a person creating anything. It's just a randomized name generator that just creates stuff. It's kind of like if, for example, one of the things that everybody really hates is the that one program that's like an anti-cheat system that EA likes to put on your crap. I can't remember what it's called. It starts with a G, I think. Um, but it goes in like builds onto your computer when you install the game, and it's there even when you uninstall the game. Like it won't come off. It's the kernel level or whatever. And basically, having a program or something that does the install creates a fake box that says I'm the admin, guys, and then it plants it into that, which you can delete then and get rid of that fake kernel with that fake process or whatever, or keep it there to where it doesn't actually bog down your system and it doesn't actually do anything. It's just they ping it to say, are you still working? And it's like, yeah, I'm still working. Nothing's going on here. And you basically remove it whenever you uninstall your game. And anytime you install another one, it goes to the same spot. The repeat process over and over again. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's preventing it's literally anonymity because you're just you're not actively creating like my name's actually James instead of Joseph, and my last name's
So,
Bond instead of Smith. Like you're
but
you're not you're not actively doing anything. It's just it's a scrambler in between. It's an encoder system that
so
just says
I,
privacy is the ultimate.
I am not saying I agree with this. I'm not saying I disagree with this. I'm just saying the way the system works. Okay,
Sure.
if you're engaging in financial transactions, meaning not just giving money to someone, but like electronic transactions, there's a degree of truthfulness that is built into the system such that you can't really cover who you are. You can, and there are legal ways to do it. You can have you can have a third party purchaser, for example, or you can establish a shell corporation where as long as you're crazy with it. There's ways to do it, but for the most part, you're required to be truthful when you engage in electronic transactions. Maybe some of the companies in that line of chain might say, "I don't care if you're really, you know, uh, Bob Smith or whatever," but some of them will, and because some of them will, all usually do.
Well, I'm saying more like in terms like a VPN. If you're using a VPN, there's nothing illegal with hiding your identity or whatever the case, or like what you're actually viewing or anything like that.
Well,
It's just
the
the,
VPN itself in the U.S. is not illegal.
that's what I'm
VPN
saying.
is illegal in some countries. Um, just because you're using
How
a
long
VPN,
until that's going to be Britain?
just because you're using a VPN, does not circumvent the fact that you must obey the law.
Sure,
Like you can't, you
sure.
can't,
But I'm saying
like,
like for them to say, oh, you're purchasing this illegal item, and I'm like, but am I though? Am I actually purchasing something that's illegal?
Well,
I'd rather than be like, well, hey, we can't allow you to purchase this because it's illegal, and give
if
a
you
like
say,
legitimate reason as to why. Like, hey, I bet you didn't know this, but the United States has this law against you purchasing this game, and it's like, okay, well, what is that law? How is it applied? Is it applied accurately? Is this the current ruling? Yada yada. The case. Give us at least an idea to understand that what we're purchasing is illegal. But if we're
well,
buying it from a storefront like America one, like Steam or whatever, and there's no chance of it being illegal because no company's going to risk their entire business for that.
no, there are tons of companies that do that because they know that they know that the initial run of money they get is enough, and like that's how the mob makes a lot of money with like corrupt businesses. They'll open up a business, get a whole bunch of investors to roll in, and disappear with the money. You know,
Yeah,
um,
sure. I mean, they do that on Kickstarter all the time,
yeah, but
which is technically a scam and should be illegal, and they should be forced to get that all back. But that doesn't happen for some reason. Okay,
well, the money disappears. So give what back? The money disappears.
then you take everything they have that until they pay off that debt, and
The
once
mob have no legal assets,
I'm not talking about the mob, I'm talking just like random scammers on Kickstarter and stuff.
but the random scammers hide their assets in such a way that you can't find them.
Well, then put them in prison and have them work for it until it's off. I
There's
don't
no
know.
such thing as debtor's prison. It's unconstitutional. You cannot put someone in prison for debt.
Scamming people is okay though. Yeah, that makes
Well,
sense.
no, you can prosecute someone for scamming them, but unless I mean, look at Bernie Madoff. The guy literally stole $45 billion, some crazy number like that, and I don't think they got more than 12 billion back.
I don't know who that is, but okay,
He was the pyramid scheme guy from like 10 years ago.
no idea.
Yeah, he just came up with the news. He ran a pyramid scheme. You know what a pyramid scheme is?
Yes.
He ran a pyramid scheme for like 30 years, and literally they think he stole like 40, so like a huge number. So it's $1 billion. I think it was like 40 billion, and they finally got him when he was in his 80s. Um, and they started doing. They seized all his personal assets, all the RDO and all that. But it was a drop in the bucket compared to what he stole. So the question is, did what he stole is still hidden out there, or did he just was it rolled over into the company, such that like because the way a Ponzi scheme works is kind of Social Security, where current investors pay for new investors pay for current investors. So did he steal money like whenever the new investor invested $1 billion, and he would give out like 80% of that to old investors? You know, do we now have to go after the old investor who didn't know it was a Ponzi scheme? You know, who had the money? You know. Anyway,
Well, I'm saying like if the guy takes what 47 billion or whatever, if he's not allowed to use it and he
but
can't do anything,
he was paying most of the money out as profit, as legal profit to people who didn't know it was a Ponzi scheme.
okay,
So the money's gone.
and so people don't get justice, is what you're saying.
Like, that's a case where you can't get your money back. I mean, well,
It's a case where you can't get justice. Yes, that's my point.
justice would be him going to jail. And dying.
That's not justice.
Well, that's criminal justice, you know.
That's not justice. It's punishment. There's totally different. Justice is not inherently just punishment. Punishment is different, separate from justice. Justice is the persons who are wronged receive recompense. But if you're saying that they're like, oh well, we're not going to allow this person to work back his debt, then
Wait, how would a guy? Well, create another Ponzi scheme? Is that what you want?
no. I'm saying like within the bounds of what is judicially placed upon him, where he has to recover so much money and he has to pay back people over time or whatever the case might be.
How is he? How is he going to
That's
pay
the
back?
point. Is that how did it ever allow to be happening to begin with? Like, it's
Well, he was very smart about how he did stuff. He exploited loopholes.
it's always funny how criminals can be really smart and the judicial system is really retarded. I don't understand.
It's a complicated system, and you're going to have holes in it. If you want it to be fair, you're going to have holes. You know.
Or if you want it to be fair, you have to balance
There was one guy.
the crime
There was one
and the
guy
punishment.
who thought that he was corrupt, and he's the guy who ultimately got him. But he was going out for 10 years, and with other people put on his face, it seemed. But the thing is, here's the thing: if the economy hadn't collapsed in 2008, Bernie Madoff never would have got caught because he was legit paying out money, and like every time new investors would come in, their money would go to the old investors. So, and he kept this thing rolling. He would have died, and his sons would have continued if the economy. You know that we had a banking collapse back in 2008 or so. Remember
Vaguely.
that? Yeah. So because it was that banking collapse or one happened, there was something happened with the banking collapse where his scheme collapsed. Had that not occurred, he could have just kept rolling it. There's actually some people, if you want to talk conjecture, that said, had he not been corrupt, given time, he could have legitimized his business. So what he was doing was offering the investors like 15%
He's
return
just
on money.
shifting. He's just shifting a lot of money and whatnot.
Well,
A lot.
but the reason people invested in his company is he was offering 15% return on investment when most people were offering 3. Had he over time dropped his return on investment and just kept rolling new investors, so he would have eventually caught up and been legit because he was greedy and wanted to keep the money rolling in and greedy in a stupid way, you know. That's the example. Anyway, but that's an example of there's no paying it back because he paid out the money he stole, like 80-90% of it as legitimate payouts, legitimate legal payouts. You know, there's no way to recoup that. You know, and
Yeah, but I would argue that it seems like it would come across as dirty money, and if it's dirty money, that's like, I'm sorry, you got this money from this guy as investment funds, but you got to give it back.
it is legally not dirty money.
Then that sounds like something they put in the particulars to screw themselves over as a justice system, specifically as much as they possibly can, so they can just say, "Oops, I guess
No,
crime pays after all, folks."
in the past, it would have been considered dirty money, but then the corrupt government used that to go after people who were not committing crimes.
Sure, which I think is also wrong, ironically,
So it took it away,
or
and so
unironically.
all the many examples of the government using that power erroneously got eliminated. Now we have one example of Bernie Madoff.
So instead of the government doing illegal things, everybody else gets to do illegal things.
No, no one. There's only Bernie Madoff. He's the only guy who got away with this.
Well, that particular instance, sure, but I'm talking about literally everybody else that does this type of stuff. And they're like, well, they're not going to pay it back, so I guess everyone's just screwed.
You have to separate the government from the private sector in your
Well,
process.
I would love to, but the government likes to insert itself in the private sector way too much.
When you're talking about civil forfeiture, that's a government issue. And
well, yes, because the private sector doesn't have the power to civil forfeiture.
No, they have to go court and sue over that. We talked about that earlier.
Yes. But they can't just show up at your house, say, I think you're doing bad things, and take 10 grand. They can't do that. That they're private. They don't have that power.
They have to get a warrant in court for that.
Sure, but again, they are private. They don't have the authority to just do it and then all the other stuff be screwed.
Well, no. For private entity, they have to sue you for it. For the government,
that's my point.
In your private property, like a home, they have to have that probable cause.
That's my point. Is that should still work for the same. Like if you're driving between Tennessee and Florida, and they're like, "Hey, we caught you with 10,000." It's like, what do you mean caught me? I didn't do anything wrong. Well, you have $10,000. It's clearly too much money for you to have, so therefore we think you're doing wrong with it, and then take the money and leave. That's different than if they were to say, we think you're doing something wrong with it, so we're gonna get a warrant, and then whenever you get to your location or whatever, they subpoena you.
They never say, we think. Let's say I smell marijuana in the car, and they say they use that as pretextual.
But they have to have evidence that marijuana was in the car.
No, at some point. Marijuana is enough to justify probable cause.
But that's what I'm saying is that's
actually about to change, by the way.
A loose.
The Illinois Supreme Court has ruled that the smell of marijuana is no longer give you probable cause to search a car.
But if you they said it doesn't.
It no longer does in Illinois, and it's more likely that's because marijuana is becoming legal in parts of the country. And they're legal in almost any state now. You can have a medical marijuana card. So
my point is that if somebody like if they said, hey, we're going to investigate you, federally speaking, and we're going to we think you're doing drug cartel work or drug work, or regular just.
Well, no. Most. Again, we'll separate again. Most problems with civil forfeiture are not the feds; it's the states and locals.
Sure. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying because if I'm driving from Tennessee to Florida and a cop stops me and decides to confiscate my money, well, if it was something where they can't confiscate it, they could just mark down my information, make note of me, go to a judge, I continue on my way, and then they're like, oh, well, now he's in Florida, he's not in our jurisdiction. So the federal's like, okay, we're looking into it. Is this guy doing actual drug trafficking or whatever the case might
Just
be?
because you leave the jurisdiction doesn't mean the feds take over.
No. I'm saying that like it would have to be state to state working together if that was the case. But my point
No.
is well, somebody in Tennessee can't go to Florida and say we have jurisdiction. You can't do that because it's a different state.
If you're driving through Tennessee, okay, and Tennessee Highway Authority or whatever they're called down to the cops stop you,
Highway
he goes,
patrol.
I smell marijuana in your car. And said, I'm going to take your car, you in your car, you know? And he searches you and finds 10 grand in your pocket. He goes, I'm confiscating this because I smell marijuana in your car and I am making a determination it is the product of an illegal drug trade. Okay. So he's going to file as evidence in the charge. Now,
He follows this evidence. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, AA. Like
he's got to put a charge on you for drug
yes.
trafficking or
But
whatever.
my point is that if you can just slap a charge on somebody without any evidence, there's no like marijuana smellometer that records things 100% and says, I stuck it in a vehicle.
Okay. In all states except Illinois, the smell of marijuana is counted by a cop, counted as evidence.
I understand what I'm saying. You're not listening to what I'm saying, Matt. I'm saying any cop can just say, I smell marijuana. There could be literally no marijuana, but they can say
Besides
it. And
Illinois, yes.
that's the, well, I know, I get that part, but I'm saying like, if a cop can just say it, I can say the magic fairy dust words. Doesn't mean the magic fairy dust is in the car.
But the law says they can do that.
That's what I'm saying. That's the problem. That's the loophole. That's the problem. You gotta get rid of it.
9 out of 10 times, though, it doesn't. The more even 95 out of 100 times, or let's say 91 out of 100 somewhere. Somewhere 90 and 95 out of 100 times, the process works not in a good way, not a bad way. There's a small
good
percentage
subjective in that term because the entire justice system is subjective. It's not objective.
Well,
it cannot be objective and say you can just say these magical words and you can do whatever you want. That's not a justice system.
Then you have to go to court and challenge it. Now,
sure, and if it doesn't cost anything, I'm all for that. But if it also takes 10 million years to get your stuff back, I'm not for that.
That's the way it works, though.
No, they should be like, all right, we're giving you your stuff back immediately, and then we're going to go through the process of duking it out or whatever, so that...
What's the incentive to do that? Number two...
Wait, nobody said what?
Number one, what's their incentive to do that? Because why would they give you back $10,000 when they know...
That's my point. They have ill intent, so give them the freaking stuff back so there cannot be ill intent.
Most people are never going to even complain.
What people?
That the money gets confiscated from.
If somebody steals $10,000 from me, you better believe I'm complaining.
From you, yes. But most people are like, wait a minute. If they're charging me with drugs, I'm not going to complain.
Well, if you don't have drugs, why wouldn't you?
But the fact that he smelled marijuana is enough to convict him often.
No. You're implying that if a cop always tells the truth. We know for a fact they rarely do. So,
again, well, actually, no, that is factually incorrect. The vast majority of time when a cop testifies, his testimony is backed up by other evidence and video statements. Okay, stop.
Videos cannot smell. Videos can only show visuals. If they said he got rough with me and the camera showed he got rough with me, sure. But
on his video,
if you cover a topic where it's like we have no way to prove it since we're not there with a smelly thingy.
On video, he's gonna say, "Look at those little flecks of stuff on his pants. That's marijuana flakes."
But it could be anything else that also looks similar to it. That's the problem. That could be his cornflakes, for crying out loud. They could be literally anything.
And again, you have
now, if he wants to take those, visually take them, put them in this, seal this thing, and it's completely sealed, and they take it back, and then they test it, and then it is drugs, boom, then you got him. But if you go back and think, oh, it's actually cornflakes, oops.
In a court,
there you go.
They're going to put the cop on the stand, or the jury,
sure,
and the prosecution will put them there. And the jury, who are oftentimes from the same community the cop are, now you're the foreigner from New York driving to Tennessee, remember that. They're going to say that cop's telling the truth because he's one of us.
Sure. That doesn't mean it's the truth. That's my point.
It doesn't matter what is really the truth. It matters what's proven according to the law.
That's what makes it justice or not justice. That's my point. It's not justice
But
by definition if they're doing it just because they're on my team.
over 85% of the time, the correct thing occurs.
And 15% of the time, injustice occurs.
I'll take that rate over any other country on the earth.
Again, other countries is irrelevant to the topic.
No, it isn't, because if you
that
complain
15% should be investigated even further and
It
gone
is,
through until it's actually fully justified. It's not actively justified if it's 15% failure.
Only perfect. You can never achieve perfection.
That's not perfection. That's a reduction, good sir. If you could get to 99.9%, that would be more accurate.
That'll be the law of diminishing returns. You have to spend so much
It's diminishing returns for people who don't get their things back.
You'd have to have like 7 body cameras on every cop, on every car. You have to have cameras all over.
Authority needs to be held in check from doing bad things.
You have to have cameras on every person. Like you have to monitor to limit every possibility of corruption in the law.
Of corruption on the hands of the authorities. The government, the cops, the people who actually enforce this stuff.
There need multiple banks of independent evidence, primarily video evidence. You have to have, it will cost trillions of dollars to do that, and it's impractical. The best goal is
it's also impractical to just steal people's stuff and not give it back. So, for example, if somebody goes in and they're concealed carrying and somebody tries to harm themselves or whatever on their property, or even in any other situation where it's legal to protect yourself, and they do it everything by the books legal, they protect themselves, they didn't violate any laws or anything, the cops they'll confiscate their firearm most of the time.
If the person tried to kill himself with it?
Huh?
Did the person try to kill himself with it?
No. I'm talking somebody attacked them and they self-defense the person out of existence.
Well, that depends on the state.
I know. I'm saying most of the time they confiscate your firearms. Some states don't do that, but most of the time they do. And when that firearm is taken, they go through the entire procedure. This person did nothing wrong. They're not being charged with anything. They're free to go and live their life, but we're keeping your gun.
So the investigation is complete.
Yes, the investigation is complete. You still have my property.
No,
give it back.
Most states will give it back to you.
But there are situations in which they don't, under the exact same scenario.
Corrupt left-wing states.
I don't think they're all left-wing. I don't think left-wing has anything to do with this. It's authoritarian, not left-wing or right-wing. But
the reason the most authoritarianism is a left-wing thing.
Sure, but I'm saying the ideology of the people in a state do not equate to the people who are doing the thing. It could be a right-wing state. Let's say it's Texas and somebody in Texas does it. Doesn't mean the whole state's left-wing. It means that there's a person who did that.
Most of Texas, outside of the couple of areas that are like Democrat, like Houston, I think, is a Democrat area. If let's say you lawfully defend yourself on your property, the cops are going to take your gun. They're going to,
they'll do the ballistic text. They'll do the basic stuff, sure. But my problem is when they don't give it back after you're proven that you're not at fault.
Most states are like Texas. Okay, there's a handful. New York, California, New Jersey, Illinois, Massachusetts. The suspects who don't want you to own guns and will use any opportunity they can to get the guns away from you.
They really want to end the lives of their citizens for some reason. It's weird.
Look at a good example. Do you remember?
Probably not. You pay more attention to the stuff than I do.
Do you remember when Antifa was attacking people's homes?
Was what?
Remember when Antifa was going around attacking people? Summer of 2020.
The summer of love.
Yeah. So a lot of us said they'll never do that in states that are Republican dominated, right? Well, they'll do it once and they'll find out.
F around, find out.
So they in a state, what's Louisiana? That's New Orleans. So. Yeah. Louisiana is a Republican-leaning state, but their areas are heavily Democratic, right?
Cities are heavily.
There's a lawyer and his wife who lived in one of those old...
I know about that. They brandished and they did a whole bunch of stupid stuff in the process.
They were lawful in what they did, okay?
Questionable.
Well, they were lawful. On your property, in that state, on your property, you're allowed to brandish. They didn't...
I'm not talking just brandish. Like, they're blatantly aiming at people that haven't approached them quite yet.
If the people are breaking into your property.
They were doing it before that, is my point.
No. The video evidence showed that Antifa was breaking in first. The video evidence cleared them on that. What happened is they chose to take a plea bargain from slap on the wrist Okay, not even though he's a lawyer, not understanding the consequences of that means they weren't going to get their guns back. They wouldn't be their own guns because they would be considered felons. So they spent the next 5 years fighting that plea bargain, got it erased, and there's another year fighting and got their guns back.
Yeah, that would be just actions of stupidity.
Yeah, but that was because
That's not. I wouldn't consider that a normal scenario for like a
they did
self-defense.
something stupid, which is a plea bargain, and they were in a Democrat part of the state. Now, if they were in Louisiana's the one that looks like a shoe, right? It's like
Yeah.
a shoe.
Yeah.
If they were in the not in the part where New Orleans is, but up higher in the
The boot cuff.
yeah, higher in the boot, where Republicans down,
The boot.
the sheriff probably would come on and said, "Open fire on him." You know,
Fire at will.
maybe the gun would have taken for like a week, and they would have got him back. Okay,
Ideally, that's a good scenario. Yes.
well, that's what will often happen. Like in a
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
in a right-leaning state, the cop will come up and say, "Okay, while I'm here investigating, I want to take your gun or I want to lock it in your trunk. Um, if you're concealed carrying, for example, or I have to put you in handcuffs for officer safety, right? And if you put the gun in your trunk or let the cop put it in his car while he's doing initial investigation, assuming you're cleared and didn't actually shoot someone, he gives it back to you and you go your way."
Now the other question is what if something happens to their property while they're handcuffed and taken away?
Well, then the police are liable for it.
Are they? Because I don't feel like they would ever say, "Oh, we're actually liable for this." I think they'd just be like, "Well, that sucks." Like, I don't see the government taking responsibility for almost anything. Like they just don't do that. That's not what they're good at.
They don't especially do that because most of our media is left wing and reports left like Democrat stuff. I mean,
sure, but I'm saying like if I go down the road and I have a friend who's like, "Yeah, I got arrested like incorrectly." I don't want to say unlawfully because like maybe there was a potential, but they weren't sure. But they're like, just for safety purposes, we want you to come in. And while they're gone, their house is burned to the ground.
You could be detained lawfully or unlawfully, and the next step is arrested lawfully.
Sure. Well, I'm just saying, like the cops didn't have ill intent. There was the cops weren't working against him or anything.
Well, you are lawfully detained, right?
Sure. Well, I mean, lawfully detained still means that they have to have a reason to detain you. But I'm saying, like, let's just say they're like, "Hey, we want you to come in because we need to make sure everything's proper, whatever the case might be." And then while he's gone, his house is burned to the ground by bad people, right? The cops aren't going to be like, "Well, that's our fault. We'll pay for everything in the house." No, they're going to be like, "Man, that's tough, man. Sucks to be you. Sorry about that."
That's their home insurance. Now,
home insurance. Here's the thing about insurance companies: they don't like you when you have to pay out. When they have to pay out to you, they like you when you just give them money and never have to pay out to you.
But they will pay out. But in small towns and Republican areas, a lot of times the police station will rally. "Oh, we got to repair this guy's house as a side project," and you'll see a bunch of cops show up with the carpenter.
Sure, but let's say there's like $600,000 worth of property inside the house, not including the house, that's damaged or destroyed. Are they gonna go on eBay and replace every single freaking item that he lost?
You can only do.
Who's paying for that? The cops or the state? Or like what?
So much, and you're never going to create a perfect system. So you do the best you can.
Yeah, but the problem is that people they'll never create the perfect system and then literally hide behind that as, "Oh well." Like there's never any innovation or push to make it better. It's literally just status quo, man. This is what we got.
Always pushes to make stuff better. Most pushes are not. Well, don't actually.
They fizzle out, and well before they get anywhere near the freaking finish line.
Most businesses fail, most ideas fail. So, for example, the idea of defunding the police was a push to make it better. We all know how well that worked out.
That was obviously stupid because criminals. I think we should go to defund criminals. That'd be the first step.
To us, obviously stupid. To people who are progressives, it seems like a good idea. You know. And the one point to add about it, I want to say is
that's why I'm not going to get into the further stuff because I have hot takes on that stuff.
So the one point I think you agree with is we are over militarizing our police. Okay.
We're over militarizing our criminals.
No. I mean, like for example, I watch a lot of police videos, and the amount of times the cops escalate to violence, like over a traffic stop, right? So
it's an ego trip. But
Yeah,
my point is that where you punish the lawful citizens, but you don't punish the criminals are always going to win
well, criminals
every
again.
single time
That's
because
another
legal people, lawful people don't have a way to do anything,
places criminals aren't punished are those left wing states. Okay,
or just by a really crappy string of incidents that happen, and then guess what? Well, it's too late. It's already happened. That's the state's mentality. There is no recompense for the lawfully abided people.
recompense for something happening you have no control over. I mean, you can
Well, you do
only
have control over it. You cannot be a dick to lawful citizens and only be a dick to the criminals because the criminals are the ones you're supposed to be a dick to. That's the whole point.
may be true.
That's not a maybe. That better be a freaking guaranteed true.
Well, when we say something like you, I'm not saying. I'm saying for sake of argument that is true. That may or may not be true. Something is. I'm not disagreeing with your point. I'm getting to the one other point. That may be true, right? But that does not mean that a process must occur that sucks to go through. It may cause you harm that you have no compensation for. You know, I mean, let's say there's a shootout in a restaurant, like by 10 people, and you're one of the 20 people in the restaurant, and you had nothing to do with the shootout. Well, the cops are going to come in and point the gun at everyone in the room saying, hands on your head, don't move, we're going to shoot you. To everyone in that restaurant. They're not going to say, who has guns?
Sure, but if they don't fire on you, there's no oopsies. They'll take everyone's statements, everybody will corroborate everybody else's thing and say nobody else is playing a part in this, and boom, you're done.
After you're in the middle of a gunfight, pointing the gun at people will cause PTSD.
Well, yes, if a police officer is swinging a gun in your face with your hands in the air, I'm sure
if you're in the middle of a gunfight, you didn't participate. 10 people just shot guns around you, and then a cop comes in and points a gun at you, you're going to get PTSD.
I'm pretty sure you're going to get the PTSD from the 10 people shooting guns, but not from inherently the cop.
Not necessarily. Just if you didn't, the cop pointing the gun at you because you're in the middle of a sort of fight or flight. Anyway.
Sure, and those situations are messy, but the point is that in those messy situations,
they're going to put you in cuffs.
There's a bit of prudence that is required.
And they're going to put you in cuffs in a police car, and you're going to be sitting there for an hour or two while they investigate.
And if they come back and they say, you're good to go.
Well, you have cuffs that are causing you pain because cuffs hurt. There's no way around that.
Sure. I mean, they can put fuzzy cuffs on, but...
You're trapped in a police car, not able to go wherever you want or do whatever you want. Your freedom is taken away. And an hour or two later, they come out, well, you're clear, buddy. Watch it.
Yeah, I feel like they're that slow at gathering information, then they probably need to hire better people. But
that's normal. That's normal.
No. I'm saying, like, if you have people who are like, yeah, Bobby and Joanna are over there just eating their pumpkin pie or apple pie or something, and then people break in, no one's going to be like, it's them. Like, they could go literally to the freaking video footage and say, oh, well, these people are all free to go.
And it takes time to get to the video footage. You have to get. Yes.
Going to the owners or the managers and saying, I need access to your stuff for the last 30 minutes or an hour should not take that long.
Always on site?
Huh?
Are the owners always on site?
If it's a diner, then probably yes. And if it's not, they can call the company and within like 10, 15 minutes have access to that footage.
And the company's going to say, I have to get the owner to authorize that or you need to get me a warrant.
And it's going to be a PR disaster if the owner doesn't do that. So they're going to do that as fast as they can freaking do.
Take an hour or two to get this all done. I literally watch dozens of cop videos. I see this process occurring in real time. Okay.
Sure. And I'm not saying that it doesn't take that long in those situations. I'm just saying it shouldn't necessarily take that long.
And then even so,
like if you're like, we're gonna ask all the witnesses and take all their statements and everything, and everybody's like, all these people over here, the 30 people over here are freaking innocent. It's these 10 people over here, and everyone's corroborating with everyone's story. You'd be like, okay, you guys can leave.
After every separate cop, usually cops interview them separately. Then
sure. I'm completely fine with them interviewing them separately.
Multiple cops interview multiple witnesses if they say the same thing. That takes sometimes hours to go through. It's like to go through.
Well, I mean, if you have like 2 cops trying to do this entire thing, but I feel like something that crazy would have like 40 cops show up.
You're going to have like 30 or 40 cops.
Yeah.
And this person's got to be interviewed by more than one cop. And then sometimes 2 or 3. And then they're going to get together and say, what do you say when he said to you? What do you say when he said to you? And then you got to go to a supervisor and tell them all the information from all 4 cops.
Yeah, but if you have a cop show up and say, well, everyone's saying that this person was just sitting there not doing anything, so that person's out. And like, well, yeah, that person was also sitting over there doing that thing. And it's like everyone's just corroborating everything. It doesn't necessarily take that long. It can, I suppose, but that depends on the quality of the cop.
Unfortunately, I am stuck watching YouTube videos most of the day, and I watch a lot of cop videos.
You poor man, or bear, I should say.
A lot of the amount of for legal reasons, the amount of like talking about stuff they have to do before they can release someone, it seems crazy, but it makes sense because you want to get it right, you know?
Yeah, I appreciate doing the due diligence. It's just sometimes the due diligence is drawn out longer than is necessary.
There's no real recompense for having to sit in that police car with the cuffs on.
Charge the criminals for damages and then pay off the people. There's lots of ways you can possibly do it.
Because you are unlawfully detained, you can then sue them for it. And what'll happen is you'll get a settlement.
I'm saying, like, from the legal system, and we probably need to start wrapping this up, but according to the legal system, like, let's say the cops didn't do anything wrong to anyone, so there's no reason for them to sue. I mean, they can still sue, but it wouldn't be a reason to do it. But let's say they're like, hey, I've been here for 2 hours. I demand, $100 for my time and my distress. And it's like, okay, well, the criminals over here, the people who are actually in the wrong, and this could actually curb some crime too, because if they take actual losses, because most crime doesn't have actual losses, it's mostly slap on the wrist. But if you're like, hey, you owe, $10,000 because you got to pay out so much money to all these people, all those criminals have to pull that together to pay these other people that are around them. There you go.
Most criminals could care less about that.
I'm not asking the criminals permission. The criminals didn't ask for permission to break crimes.
It's going to cost you more money to sue them for that.
I'm not talking about suing. I'm saying make it by default in this situation. If you're putting other people through this kind of distress, the criminals have to pay out. Period. Criminals should pay out by default anyway because they're doing something wrong. We have such a cowardly justice system when they do that.
Most of the cases with criminal repayment is either in some cases they can be required. They can oftentimes when they plead guilty, part of the plea could be compensating their victims, right?
That should be built in. That's what I'm saying. That should not even be hesitant.
The problem to get that is the whole debtor's prison thing, which is unconstitutional.
Why was it unconstitutional? Because the government would do it.
Because the British government was putting people in jail for owing someone $10.
Well, they shouldn't be in prison very long if that's where they're making money.
People under the British penal laws that you could be in jail for years for owing someone $10.
Well, that means that is very flawed in that debate.
Well, that's why we had a whole revolution with the Constitution.
Well, I thought that was for tea, but yeah. So my point is that if you have a debtor's prison, because I would like to point out that basically for all of civilization, human civilization, debtor's prison's been a thing. Like if you owe people money, you have to work for them.
And thankfully, we eliminated that in the U.S.
I don't know if it's necessarily a thankfully.
Oh, that was definitely thankfully.
Why?
It's arguably also a form of slavery.
Owing, yes, taking money or not being trying to get something that you can't pay off.
Well, no, what you can
is bad, right?
They decriminalize it, made a civil issue.
I mean, I'm not saying you just leave it wide open ended. I'm saying like you can narrow it down where the government can't do it, but other people can be like, Joe over here owes me $150. He needs to work to pay that off to pay me back because he wronged me.
Get a garnish on his wages, and if the rest of his life
that would be a debt slave.
No, it's not.
Garnishing someone's wages, taking money from them, is literally like you're forcing them to work for a particular time.
No. When you get 1 second,
it's still debt slavery.
When you get a garnish on someone, you're not taking their wages. The money is yours. Because they owe you money, the judge says this $150 or whatever of Joe's wages are actually Sam's money.
Sure. But that's what I'm saying. That's the same thing as debt slavery. Debt slavery would be you have to work off enough money, like basically, for example, if you're a slave and you're paying off so much money that you owe. Once that money is paid off,
No, but
you
see, I
go.
mean, there's money they can't take. For instance, you can't take someone's pension or Social Security via garnishment.
Okay, so let's just say they just decide not to work.
They'll be paid back
It's not going to get paid back, correct?
until they die and you take from their estate.
Which is wrong either. Like,
Well, no, that's entirely wrong. I have no problem. I have no problem with if a person dies and has a $10,000 estate and they also own $500, they get the $500.
yes, but then you're forcing somebody else to suffer for somebody else's just decisions.
Who are you forcing to suffer?
What?
Who are you forcing to suffer?
The person who is owed the money. They don't have that money, and they might need that money for something.
Well, again,
So
fine,
now it's the victim's fault for
then we
giving.
should just kill Joe, take his kidneys, sell them off, and give the guy money. That's what you're saying.
No, that is such a freaking. Oh my gosh, dude! Why are you strawmanning me like that?
Because here's the
That's
thing.
not a straw. That's not even the same. That's not even in the same vicinity of the conversation.
Whenever you examine a problem, you always have to look at the most extreme cases that could result. Okay.
I'm not even talking extreme. I'm talking somebody owes you $2. They work. They pay you $2. They go for like it would take them not even 20 minutes.
So you get to the you garnish their paycheck and you take the $2. Nothing wrong with that.
But if they refuse to work, the judge would order them to work. There's no. What's the problem here?
Order someone to work. That's slavery.
I'm not going to go do that because if I do, I'm going to go on a massive rampage. There's way more to that than that. That's a very broad view.
The slippery slope of forcing people to work is eventually going to take their body organs.
Slippery slope of people not being criminals and doing nothing and like getting welfare still somehow magically speaking.
It is not worth the risk to giving the government that power to have them be able to force.
You don't even have to give the government that power. That's the ironic part.
Yeah, you do, because we have a 13th Amendment.
No, the government's just saying you owe this person. None of this has anything to do with the government. The government's just saying you have to fulfill your end of this contract. That's literally it. That's the government's involvement. Nothing else is involved.
Yeah, that's what civil court's for. You go to court, you sue them for $100 or whatever it is,
and they say I'm not doing anything, and then you're like, okay, well, I guess we're done here.
you got to wait until
they die, which they might outlive you, and therefore you're screwed.
You can have something. You can seize something that they own. For example, you can go to a judge and say, "Judge, he didn't pay me $100, but I see he had a CD collection with 10 CDs in it. They're worth $10 each." And the judge like, give those 10 CDs.
They're only worth $10 if people pay you $10 for them.
Well, he has 100 CDs. You can sell them for $1 each.
That it's only worth $1 if somebody buys them.
But
now,
the point is,
somebody has to liquidate that. Are you going to give the government the power to liquidate that?
Well, the government does that all the time. That being aside, it will be you.
The government does all these horrible things, but man, if somebody has to go work debt slavery for $20, man, that's a step too far.
If someone chooses not to work, you can then go back to the judge and say they're choosing not to work, but they own some properties of some sort that are worth what they owe me. I want that 10 CDs or car or whatever it is, and the judge
I would say I want the authorities to repo something, have it sold off at an auction, and then give me the money. That would be the easiest way to do it.
That's what they did when you go to court and
yes,
say,
but here's the thing: is if I just took it and I went to sell it and nobody ever bought it, I don't make my $10. I don't get my $10 back. The value of anything in this thing is what I spent for it to me. But the value of it to somebody else only is valuable if they choose to purchase it from me.
You might want his collection of Neil Sedaka CDs for yourself. You know,
maybe I don't know, but that's the thing is like that should be the person who is owed decision. Period.
Yes, and if you go to court and you say Bob owes me $100. He's not paying.
What if you go to the person who's the criminal and say, hey, you can owe, or you can either pay this money flat out cash, you can sell your CD collection and give the proceeds back to pay that
And-
off, or you can go to debt slavery to pay off what you own, because you should not be just getting away with this.
We talked about that in a criminal trial. If they confess and plead guilty, as part of that pleading, they can agree to recompensate
Garnishment or whatever, sure, but that's
the person they wronged.
but they can also say no.
But the judge cannot impose that as a penalty.
Well, the contract should impose the penalty, not the judge.
No, we're talking
The contract
criminal.
should just enforce the contract.
We're talking. There's no
Or the
contract.
judge.
We're talking criminal law. In a criminal law, the judge can say, "Well, you got to pay $1 million fine," but that goes to the government, not to the person not to the victims. But
Then maybe you should put a law that says that it goes to the victims instead of the government. Oh, shocking!
Well,
I think they call that innovation.
You're going to wind up the slippery slope there, which we can see.
There's always a slippery slope, which is why you leave it out of the hands of the government and leave it in the hands of the people who are the victims.
Then who enforces it?
The government enforcing it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it does, because they're the only one with power to enforce anything.
They don't benefit from it. There's no benefit. They don't get nothing from it. They don't get
So
the money.
the judge doesn't get a paycheck?
The judge is getting a paycheck already. I'm talking like if I say, Joe, you can have $10, pay me back on Friday. Well, okay. Friday comes, he doesn't pay me back. I can go to the court and say, hey, I want my $10 back. The judge says, give him his money back. The judge is involved. He's already involved. If the judge says, garnish his wages, the judge is involved. He's already involved. Like, the involvement of the government is already there.
We agree to that point, but then the point you're not.
I'm just saying, stop the government from benefiting, because the government shouldn't be receiving any of that fine. It should go to the people who have been wronged.
That's what civil courts are for, not criminal courts.
So the government's the one being wronged.
You understand, in criminal prosecution, if a crime is committed against you, you're not the one prosecuting them, right?
Yes.
The government's prosecuting them on behalf of all the people.
And they're not recompensing those people. So.
Well, the recompense would be money going to the government coffers.
That's not recompense for the people who are the victims. That's the recompense for the government's participation. That's a totally different thing.
The legal theory for the past more than 200 years, going back even to Britain to some extent.
How long something exists is irrelevant to whether it's good.
Way to proven jurisprudence, okay, which is a form of philosophy.
My jurisprudence is your money goes into my coffers.
The philosophers of legal jurisprudence say this system is weighted and it works well. It's the best one we have. Okay,
that's like a cop out for I'm out of ideas because I'm retarded.
So there are no.
There are always better options, good sir. That's the whole point of imagination.
We're whining about living in a first world country. Okay.
It doesn't matter if you're in a first, third, or 50 billionth country. It doesn't matter.
I mean, we have the luxury of living in an almost perfect country.
Luxuries are irrelevant to the point. The point is the people who are wronged should be recompensed by the people who did the wrong, regardless of criminal or civil.
Well, they do it through civil.
It doesn't matter. If there's a criminal case and you're one of the victims, which what makes a person a criminal, that's it.
Someone murders you, I am wronged.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
I'm deprived of associating with you.
That I could deprive you of that. That doesn't make me a criminal.
It does if someone murders you.
No. Okay. No. If I say, Matt, I don't want anything to do with you ever again. This has never happened, but assuming I said that, and I deprived you of my whatever you call me, I guess, my presence.
The reason the prosecution is for all the people is because if you're murdered, you're depriving all the people of the benefits of youth society.
There may or may not be benefits to that, depending on the person. But the only actual victims would be one, me, who's dead, but it will also be my family. Because I am the responsible person for my family. So if my family is deprived of me, they need a source of income. And if that source of income is gone, then the person who took that source of income away from them, they're the victims. You do not stand to gain anything financially
Yeah, I do.
No, you don't.
You help pay my mom's Social Security.
Well, so does the other guy who just got born. He'll pay for it in a little bit. Just give it some
But the
time.
point is, the legal theory, which has been backed up by the
So
jurisprudence.
wait. Who do you sue if I die naturally? Do you sue
Well,
nature?
well,
Does the government do a criminal
you
course against nature because you're deprived of Social Security benefits?
you can't. Well, so that's why civil court is more limited than criminal court. Okay.
I mean, it would be ridiculous in both of those situations.
You
So
can't sue-
I condemn you, Mother Nature.
you can't sue your estate if you owe me money. You
Okay,
die.
there's a difference between immediate victims and the grand scheme victims. Grand scheme
Let's
victims
say
don't matter at
let's
all.
say you owe me
You're not
$10,000.
an actual victim.
If you owe me $10,000, or if you commit a crime against me, like say you rob my car, and then you die, I can sue your estate for compensation.
Yes, because it was my wealth, and then my wealth would go to you. Yes,
But I have to get that to a civil court.
whether it's a civil or criminal is irrelevant.
You can't get
I
it to
know
criminal.
how the legal system is enacted right now.
not-
I'm
you
saying it
cannot-
shouldn't be criminal or civil specific. Period.
There's nothing else. There's nothing else.
That's what I'm saying. That's why there's innovation to be had.
Like what? What would be better than either of those two?
I haven't exactly sat down and done an in-depth research on all the possibilities that could be, because I'm sure I'd come run into a bunch of things that would not make sense.
In all of human history, with the many other
With
possibilities,
all of human history, people have always been totally honest about all their desires and
this is
ideology.
the best.
Yeah.
This is the best we've come up with in all of human history.
So far.
And
then so far implies innovation is available, because there's always more information we can utilize. There's always ways we can tweak things.
Well,
You can't just say, well, it's the way it is. We're never going to change it. That's stupid.
I'm not saying they can't go innovation. I'm saying that
I'm saying use
most of the
innovation.
problems
So you should have no problems with that.
most of the problem are tweaking the existing system to get rid of certain problems.
If
And-
you tweak the criminal cases and say, we are not going to allow the government to take the funds if there are victims, the funds will go to the victims. In a criminal case, that's innovation, because it's not enacted and it can do that.
They've long since passed that point. Under legal theory, all of society are the victims of crime. All of them. Okay?
So every time the government commits a crime, all of society gets $1 million, right?
Under theory.
It's very much a rules for thee, not for rules for thee, but not for me kind of thing.
Prosecutes someone for murdering someone, they're prosecuting on behalf of all the people of that jurisdiction. So if New York State prosecutes a guy for murdering his wife,
if you want to do that, go for it. But the victims take priority,
well,
not the
that's the way-
overall everybody
that's
get
the way the
victim.
law worked for over 200 years.
I don't care if they've worked that way for 200 years. That doesn't mean anything. They had slavery for tens of thousands of years, and you're saying, hey,
You're trying.
it's just
again,
the way it is.
What they've done again.
We literally innovated our system into existence.
You want has been properly allocated to civil court to avoid making criminal court out of control and chaotic.
It's already out of control and chaotic.
No, we're not. You can't.
It's not as bad as other places, sure, but it doesn't mean it's not chaotic and out of control.
99% of the time, criminal court is fine. There's a small percentage of criminal court where it's where something excessive happened or something.
If someone murders me and my wife and kids are not immediately compensated by that, like they're taken care of, because again, I'm gone, so I cannot continuously build up of wealth for them so that they're taken care of. By definition, that needs to be taken care of. Once that is taken care of, then if the government wants to pull a little bit extra to recompense all the other people who didn't actually get directly affected by anything, then knock yourself out. But first and foremost, the victims need to have recompense. That should be non-negotiable in any civil society.
Let me also put this out. In most cases where there's not a financial aspect to the crime, meaning it's just a murder or whatever, there's no penalty of money involved legally. It's prison or probation.
And that's where they are literally just shooting their civilians in the butt. Like
No, but the process is to go to the civil court where it's much easier to prove a loss.
so this person commits a crime against all of its citizens, correct?
Okay.
Somebody gets murdered, right? And that's a crime against all civilians, right?
Here's another proof for you, okay? Let's say you're murdered and you said your wife they prosecute for murder and they win. That whoever murdered you declared guilty. The standard for guilt in civil court is lower. If you literally just take the proven evidence in a criminal court, file that in a civil court, you'll win 99% of the time in like a month.
Here's the problem, though, is if they take all their money from the criminal case and they get all that money for the government that goes
No,
to
they
the
don't.
government,
There's no monetary penalty on the criminal side for murder.
then
The only time there's a monetary
then
penalty,
who are the victims that are
the
everybody?
only time there's a monetary penalty in a criminal case is if there's a monetary crime.
Well, is it not a monetary crime to murder somebody who is the monetary building block of their family structure?
Not legally.
Seems
Criminally,
that seems like a problem, but okay.
I should say not criminally, but civilly, yes.
Let's say hypothetically, because I don't study these things in depth, but I'm just going off of basic philosophical logical principles. If let's say the government did take $1 million, and that's all that the person who did the murdering had, if my wife then takes that to court civilly and then demands money, well, if he's already out of money because the government took it, she can't get it.
But they can't take it because there's no monetary component for it.
No. I'm saying like if she's suing because now her income has been literally halted.
Well, you're saying the
completely.
government took the $1 million that the guy had.
No, I'm saying like let's say the government did pull money, financial money, because of the means, and then my wife went to sue using the evidence from that, and then they're like, okay, he now owes you $2 million, and then he's like, well, I don't have $2 million, I'm just going to jail.
The government cannot legally take that money from him.
So why earlier did you say that the government gains the financial benefits
of financial crime?
But why would the government gain financial benefits of financial crimes and not the people who have been financially screwed over?
Well, that's an area of debate. I will agree with you. There's problems there.
Room for innovation. But anyway, MasterCard and Visa, they suck. Whatever.
I think the activists suck, and MasterCard and Visa are just...
Everybody sucks. But yes, Matt, what you got coming up?
Tomorrow night, Wednesday. Well, the Wednesday before this video airs, on Wednesday night is overbooked on Joker Voices channel. We'll be reviewing SummerSlam, which just happened this weekend. Which is pro wrestling, basically pro wrestling.
Wait,
show.
Is that the one that's happening in Florida?
New Jersey.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
SummerSlam happened in New Jersey.
I remember hearing Geeks and Gamers talk about one happening in like Tampa Bay or something, and it was like a 3-day event or a 2-day event or something. That was like 2 days, 3 hours each.
Well,
WrestleMania or something like that.
WrestleMania.
Yeah.
WWE has four now? 4 2-day events. WrestleMania, SummerSlam is the first day is 2 years. First time is 2 days a year. So Survivor Series and Royal Rumble, I think, also 2 days. Most of their events are 1 day. So anyway, we're talking about SummerSlam results and a few other things. On the Thursday before this airs, on Roman's channel, I believe it's Roman's birthday stream this week.
Ooh.
So
well, tell him happy birthday from me.
I will. I will be talking about the fact that Roman lived another year, basically. You know?
Ah, Roman, you live to see the moon one more time.
We just reviewed on Roman's channel the 1970s invasion of the Body Snatchers, like last week. Well, what 2 weeks before on this?
The prior one.
Yeah. I have on my channel my predictions for which probably will pass SummerSlam. So my predictions are up. So I should have my 2 results discussion videos up for SummerSlam.
How often are your predictions correct when you watch wrestling?
Like
I know there's a lot of like variety and random things, so I'm just curious because like if you have like 16 people operating the same thing,
70-75% of the time. Sometimes my heart, if my brain makes a pick, it's like 95%. But sometimes I just can't. Like there's a guy named.
I don't want to give him the win.
Well, there's like a guy named Ellen who I just can't stand,
Yeah.
and he wins matches. I pick against him all the time.
Well, you pick against him because you dislike him, not because he's not going to win. But yeah.
Yeah, or like Lyra Valkyria. That's
Well, maybe in your predictions you could say I think he's going to win from a statistics point, but I don't like him, so I don't want him to win, and then just like separate your predictions.
I'll say that, but I still have to honestly, I still have to make a lot of predictions.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like give your honest opinion of like who's going to legit win, and then give your other like I don't want this guy to win.
They do a legit swerve, like they did a swerve is when they you can see the storyline going one way, but it swerves the other way.
Yeah.
Like this weekend they had a match with Randy Orton teaming up with the celebrity Jelly Roll. You know who Jelly Roll is?
Unfortunately.
The dude lost over 100 pounds for this match.
Oh, nice.
He got himself in big time shape.
I wonder if that's Ozempic.
It was him and Randy Orton teaming up against Logan Paul and what was it? What's the other guy's name? A Scottish guy. Anyway, Drew McIntyre.
Scottish guy.
And the way celebrity matches are set up, if the celebrity is a good guy, usually at a big event like SummerSlam, that side wins.
Yeah.
Well, they swerved it and had Jelly Roll and Randy Orton lose and get the crap beat out of them. So what that usually means is
they're building up a set for the good guys to come back and win, kind of a thing.
Well, they're building up a file. The match, there will be more to the storyline.
Yeah.
Because usually at a big event like SummerSlam, it's one of the big four. Storylines end or storylines begin. You don't get middle of road matches, right? So, for example, so that's Gunther was wrestling. Who was wrestling? CM Punk, and that built up over the course of 3 months, right? So it was a great match, and CM Punk won, and then Seth Rollins ran and cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase, and they set up so much that we will like.
I think I remember seeing a clip of that.
They set up they set that an injury, a minor injury that they faked into a big injury, and he disappeared for a month. And so when he came out, there was a lot of legit surprise that they would cash in so soon, and he beat CM Punk in a 10-second match, Money in the Bank. That's an example of not a swerve, but a new storyline beginning in a match, right?
Yeah.
So now Seth and Punk will have a rivalry for a few months.
So if you want to hear more of this talk, ladies and gentlemen, check out Matt's Wednesday stuff.
Well, I was explaining how wrestling works and why your predictions go and don't go.
Yeah.
I should have my reaction video to SummerSlam up maybe tonight or tomorrow. I'll do at least one of them. I only watched the first night. I gotta watch the second night.
Have you considered doing a locals type of stream for that?
There's a lot more I would do if I could sit at my desk for more than.
Well, I meant more in terms of because you could actually like watch the match with people who watch you live because you can't do it on YouTube, but you can do it on locals.
It's also the way I physically, those are my physical issues and the way I get the matches, which is true.
Well, you're not on. Are you on screen all the time when you're doing that?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like, could you do this where you're not physically there, so you don't have to be in your desk?
You hear the second part of it. The way I get the matches is because of my limited circumstances are to the high fees.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like 3 months from now, I'll come to Blu-ray. I'll buy it on Blu-ray, but that's too late for me to do a live for you.
I was gonna say if you had somebody who did already get that stuff that they could share.
Well, JV Joker Voice, he does a post event live stream.
The post-mortem.
Yeah, you know. I was
just saying, like, if Joker Voice had an account or something like that, and he covered that kind of stuff, you guys could do like a dual stream together, where it's like in a locals thing where you guys are working together, and he brings it up and everything, and then you're watching it live, and then you can cover.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I'm just saying in a way that you could like interact with your crowd, and then they could. They could all get some cool stuff out of it, and then on the YouTube side.
Due to my physical problems right now, I can't. I can only sit. Like I said, even
that's what I'm saying is like if you're off screen like this, you don't have to be sitting. You could be doing literally anything. You could be hanging upside down in your room for all we care.
If I'm running the stream, I got to be on my computer. I can't do phone.
Well, could you have like a laptop or something that you could run it from?
I have a laptop. It's just difficult when you're laying down.
I'm saying like use your phone in a way that like it's your voice. It's like
I get what you're saying, and I've tried it. Okay.
Oh, okay. I don't know if you did.
There's a lot of physical problems right now, and I don't know what the cause of them is. To be honest, We can talk offline when you get back from your vacation. Um, I really want to do more. I want to work. I want to get. I can't even work right now, which is well. We'll talk offline.
Yeah. But if you wanted to check out his wrestling streams and his stuff with Roman of the Empire, check him out. He's in the description. He's also on the channel's my channel's page at the bottom with the, other friendly
I
content
got
creators and
non-wrestling
stuff.
content too. I got non-wrestling content as well on my channel.
You got what?
I have non-wrestling content on my channel as well.
Sure. Yeah. I was just saying that particular day, like Wednesday, if you want to hear wrestling stuff. Yes. Also check out Crimson Law if you're interested in anime or manga, light novels, Japanese culture in general and whatnot, and just stuff surrounding the Twitters in reference to those topics. Crimson does really good stuff on that, and him and I made a video coming out. Well, I guess now would be the prior Friday. That's a good long conversation on some censorship stuff. So go back and check that out if you missed it. And if not, leave a comment on it for what your thoughts are, because I'd like to hear your thoughts. Also, check out Meta PCs and all that fun jazz if you are interested in a new PC, because they're a veteran owned company that does good stuff. I don't get any support from them in any shape or form. I just like what they're doing, and you can use code 199 for the Geeks and Gamers code to get a discount. Huh?
So 199.
199. I have no idea how long that code lasts. They could end their I guess deal with Meta PCs at any moment in time, but if it doesn't work, that means they stopped it. But as far as I'm aware, it's pretty much indefinite. And then also check out ayakamods.cc. They do basically what Nexus Mods does, but without the stupidity. So, also alongside them is DEG Mods, which I really like what they're doing. They'll both be in the description as well with Meta PCs. DEG Mods is working on getting their own entire system up and running, and I really, really want to do something with that, but I have nothing really to bring to the table that I know of. So sadly, I doubt I will be able to do anything with them. But if they ever come up with something and they offer me, I'll probably work with them on that, because I really like that idea. But aside from that, those pretty much good. Go check out all these people and support them. You supporting people like Matt and Crimson and all that stuff supports me by supporting them. So cool beans. Just support them with comments. Lots of comments. Likes.
It's a Portuguese scheme.
Well, I mean, without the money, but yeah. it's a you work for me to work for them. Yeah.
It's a giant virtual jockstrap.
You'll keep me hanging up. What? No. But yeah. And then I have my Sundays, which this would be a Sunday release. I have my Sundays at noon release Central Standard Time, and I have my Fridays at noon Central Standard Time, and then I have my Tuesday live streams. Typically they're 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, but it'll depend on if I have to make it work. So I might be moving them earlier just so I have more time to do the live streams. Because going from 9 to 3 in the morning it can get rough. And sometimes from family stuff I can't do that. So I might move it earlier. So what?
Yeah. We don't like things rough around here.
Well, I mean, I do like rough things, but not that kind of rough thing. But yeah, so normally 9 p.m. Central Standard Time for a Tuesday live stream. I do video games, and I just chat with the chat if anybody wants to chat. And if they don't want to chat, I play video games and just make random comments and jokes, because that's what I do. I like to have fun. And I'm going to be starting I guess by the time you see this video, I will have started Time Splitters 1, the best first-person shooter series of all time, in my opinion. And I think my opinion is the objective opinion in this regard, because it's fantastic. And you want to find out, come watch the stream. Go back and watch the live stream, or come visit the next one. But yeah, live streams, come hang out, chat and chat. Let's have a fun blast. So thanks everybody for hanging out. Thanks, Matt, for sticking around. And we will talk to you guys whenever you pop in next. So thanks everybody coming. Remember, my friends, walk in the light.